Good evening and welcome to The Real Study with your hosts, Mr. Snitbits,
Welcome back to A Real Study.
Black Girl Marvel,
But I didn't know what I was getting myself into.
Mr. Marvelite,
not knowing anything about the film.
all the movie things,
Knowing like I was locked in right away.
the pre-review with Super Gummy Guru,
Review.
and me, the Real Study movie voice guy. Let's go to the poster wall.
Good evening and welcome to The Real Study. My name is Mr. Snidbits, and with me, as always, is Black Girl Marvel to my left. Tonight, we have two special guests. We have back with us again, Sinjin Chapman, and for the first time, Blind Biggie from TikTok. Welcome. And let's talk about the movies we're going to do tonight. We're going to be doing Wargames, the 1983 classic. We're also going to be covering Robin Hood, the remake, the 2018, both Taron Egerton as well as Jamie Foxx, and then the Bob Odenkirk film Nobody that was released on HBO. And we are still going to get to Everything Everywhere All at Once. It does release in 2 days, so it'll be soon. That said, let's move on over to the drive-in and say hello. How's everybody's week been?
Pretty good.
Kind of trash, but I'm getting better.
Oh no, kind of trash.
Yeah.
You want to say more?
I'll say this. I'll say just people are draining. I'll say humans are draining, and when you're trying to explain to somebody how you feel and they dismiss you, you have to decide whether or not you're going to live with that or you're going to extract yourself. And I extracted myself. And then I had an audition for a theater that same day. All this happened like around the same time, and it drained me. Like I was probably asleep for like maybe 15 hours. Like I was drained.
I'm sorry to hear that, but any word from the theater?
Not yet though. I think I should. This just happened on Saturday, so I'm hoping.
Fingers crossed.
So I'm just hoping.
Yep. And
it's paid too, so that's nice. I can work an actor.
You got to tell me from now on so I can tell you to break a leg. I'm all about that. You got to let me know ahead of time.
Okay. What I'll do is I'll tell you when I get something. Like when I'm about to like.
And then when you're gonna go to stage, I'll tell you.
Then when I'm going on stage, then I'll tell you.
I love it. Sinjin, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. If I'm ever back on the podcast, this is the last time you'll see this room because this Saturday I'm moving. So that's exciting.
That is exciting.
So I've just been
that is exciting.
for that all week.
Work. How about you, Biggie? How you doing?
Not too shabby. You know, been taking trips with the kiddo to the mall, so that's always fun. But yeah, been doing pretty good.
Good. And you are also a TikToker. You're a movie TikToker. What inspired that?
Well, see, I was a general manager for Blockbuster Video for well over a decade, and movies have always been my thing, like since childhood. So I decided, you know what, and I slowly kind of just felt out the audience that I was bringing in, and I just like, you know what, I'm just going to go for this because it makes me feel good for one, and maybe people don't know about these movies, and I'm doing something good for them, you know, so I figured why not?
You've made me remember movies I don't normally think about, and because you watch them very consistently, and I love it.
Right.
So
I try to put something out like almost every day.
Like what? Give me one movie.
Well, usually I watch old horror films just because, you know, they're cheap. People can watch them for free. So, of course, you know.
Yes, Lord, they can.
Right. But also I've got the other streaming apps. So if something good that I haven't seen in a while comes on, I'll be like, okay, I'm going to make a TikTok of that one because people need to see that.
Like The Northman today.
Right. The Northman, exactly, which just came out on Peacock. Go enjoy that.
Well, it's
on
I don't know
Peacock
if I should get
Premium,
Peacock, right?
Premium, yeah. Does require
I don't know if I should get Peacock
$4.99.
Premium or Paramount Plus. Like, I don't know which one. Like,
they're both.
I think you should get Paramount Plus.
Good.
That's me, so you can watch Trek. You can watch Trek with me and Ray and Biggie.
And so Paramount Plus is on Trek because I've been wanting
everything Trek. Everything Trek is on Plus on Paramount.
Even the new stuff.
Yeah, everything.
Okay, I gotta
all the movies, all the shows, even the animated shows. Like it's Paramount is the company for Star Trek. That's who's owned it since the beginning.
Hub.
So
okay, that makes sense. Maybe
and then The Northman being on Peacock Premium. I got to ask, do they do the commercials even on the premium? Because I know they have a little disclaimer.
No,
okay, just checking.
they show a commercial at the beginning, and then they'll say on the screen, "We'll let you enjoy this commercial free after these messages."
But
So,
is that even when you pay for it?
huh?
Is that even when you pay for it?
Yes, yes. At least there's not commercials breaking up the film. It's just
No,
at
for
the,
sure.
at the beginning, like a preview, you know.
I'm with you there. Now, so for me, if I have to watch a commercial to watch a movie, I'll wait. That's just me. The only commercials I want to see when I'm watching movies are previews for other movies. So that's just my opinion.
I understand. I don't want to hear about Tide Pods. I'm good.
Right. No.
It's, every commercial is Tide Pods. Like every commercial.
They'll pick a commercial and they'll run it for a month, right?
Money. Hey, listen, they bought all the ads for all the shit. They were like, everybody go see that we got Tide Pods.
Exactly.
Right. I think they're trying to recoup maybe a bad
probably
thing that happened.
Bad press.
Something.
Bad press. Yeah. I got a question for Biggie though, because it just popped in my head. I usually don't really have questions, but it just popped in my head. But you say you do like old horror movies because like they're free, if you like watching and just like, which I want to start getting into that and just watching like old horror stuff and like kind of reacting to it. Have you ever seen The Terror with Jack Nicholson?
Oh, it's been a long time since I've watched that. Probably in, I don't want to date myself, but a long time ago. It's been a while. But the reason why I try to do freebies is because, you know, there's an audience out there and there's people who can't afford all these services. And so I'm just like, hey, you know what? Tubi, you know, Pluto TV, you know, Vudu. I mean, these all have free
I love Tubi.
Right.
Also, IMDb is now Freevee.
Yeah.
It's called Freevee now. Yeah. So IMDb is called Freevee now. If you have it like through Amazon, however, or I don't know where else they are, but they changed their name to Freevee, and
that's
so
awesome.
You can see a whole bunch of stuff on there too.
Okay, so on her subject of The Terror, this is a movie that crosses generations because it's got Boris Karloff and Jack Nicholson.
Yeah.
So it's like old horror and mid horror, if you not mid as in negative, but mid as in mid range in the years. These days.
I love Boris Karloff.
Hell yes, great stuff. Dick Miller.
It's a very interesting. I had to do when I was doing stand up. We did like a stand up show where like it was like 5 of us, like 5 comedians, and we all watched a certain length of the movie, and we would have to roast it as we watched it. And so I actually started to enjoy it, but I was just like, look at these cutscenes, like it's horribly edited. It's just so
really?
It's so old. It's just like he'll be like, but, and then it'll cut and he'll be like, no. Like it's just like a weird.
I can imagine in the '60s, you know, you're really splicing film together. So if you only had so much and like a bad tool to edit with, you know, it might be harder.
Because I understood everything, but it was just funny to watch as a person who's like, I'm so jaded now with like the technology that we have. Because it was just like he was running out into the ocean. Spoiler alert! He was running out into the ocean to like to save, like this woman killed herself, like she just walked out into the ocean, and he went to go save her, and it cut real weird to show you that she just disappeared. But I was just like, that's bad editing right there, because it was just like the screen jumped. It was like to show you that like she disappeared, whereas you know we can fade and do things like that now. But I was just like, this is so cute, but it's still a weird film though. I recommend it to anybody that like they wanted to see like a old. Not an old, but like a young Jack Nicholson, like in his prime, kind of like first movie coming out. It's interesting.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, hey, we've got 3 movies we're going to cover, and they're all over the place. These movies don't seem to have much of a connection or theme even that I could figure out, which is usually fun, but this will be interesting. So we're starting off with the 1983 classic Wargames, starring Matthew Broderick, Ali Sheedy, as well as Dabney Coleman. Those are the big actors in this film. And it's a story about a young computer genius that decides that he wants to hack into unknown programs and play war games with the computer. Anyway.
Well, technically, he just wants to play video games.
Yeah, I know, and that's what I'm saying. He wants to get into Panavision or whatever the name of the company is. You know, right? But like, I want to play. You know, just like these days, we're like, oh, let me play Civilization. That's what he was jonesing for in '83. So it makes sense. But we have 2 people that have never seen the film, and then 2 people who have seen this film dozens of times. So I would like to start with the people that have not seen this film, just to get a fresh perspective, and then we'll pile on with all of everything that makes this movie what it is. So why don't we start with La, because she was actually the reason this movie got added to the list, because she told me, I've never seen Wargames, so I insisted on adding it So
It's
let's
going
start
to
with
be a lot of
Laura.
movies like that. It's going to be a lot of movies like that. He's going to start with that little line that says, I haven't seen it. Love me some Matthew Broderick. Okay, when I saw that he was in this, I was like, signed, sealed, delivered. I'm his. Like, it's over because I love me some Matthew Broderick. And this was like, I know this is before Ferris Bueller, I believe. So it was just like, but you could still see the Ferris Bueller in him. So that was interesting. Ali Sheedy is always a pleasure when I see her on screen, but she just always looks sinister to me, even when she's happy. So it's just like, it's just, so when she would be like happy with him, I'd be like, she got something up her sleeve, and I'm like, but that's like her character, but she just looks like that. But this movie was like very very interesting. It's for me it spans like the test of time. Like what he did then, I think like we still do today just at a different level. And so and it's like one of those movies where it's like typical adults don't listen to kids. Kids are stupid, and he was like the smartest one in the room, and it was just like he had to go get an adult for them to go, like and the adults say the same thing as him. Like it was just, I was just like, this never changes generation to generation. And but it was just amazing to see that, like, you know, it was like I said on my letterbox, it's an to me it was like an allegory of like real life, and like how like going to war or having this power is not a game. You know what I'm
Definitely.
saying? It's not a game, and to me that spends the like the test of time. Like what we have, the power we have behind us, the power that like a lot of these nations have, is not a game, and you really have to like really think about in the moment, like, and what I'm doing is what I'm doing correct, is what I'm doing right, right? And because it's a lot of measure for like human error, and it was just, and this movie was like a big human error. It's like, let's not worry about humans, let's give it to a machine that doesn't, a learning machine. This is like one of the like first AI type of films, and like that was very interesting to me. But yeah, I enjoyed it. I love Matthew Broderick. I feel like when the moment he speaks, I'm just like listening. Like,
All
what do
right.
you have to tell us? So
I
yeah.
like it. I like it. Sinjin, what do you got? War games.
I really enjoyed this movie. It was my first time watching it, and I haven't really seen a movie like this before. It's very interesting and a pretty unique one. And it's set in the 80s. It's based on the Cold War, and I thought it was just gonna have a standard us versus them narrative,
Hmm.
but it was just a really interesting look at just warfare in general and how politicians are playing a game with it. They're using soldiers, they're using missiles and these weapons of destruction like chess pieces, and it was such an interesting way to show that. And it's set in the 80s, and I think it's interesting that it had like a cybersecurity theme to it that is very something that I would expect from a movie nowadays, but it's back in the 80s. And I think I love Matthew Broderick as well. He did a great job. He, just like Black Romara said, he had that Ferris Bueller young kind of
Hmm.
Definitely.
flunking out of school, has an
Hmm.
attitude, has a sharp
But
wit,
really smart. They're
intellectual.
really
Smarter than
smart.
he
He's just bored.
shows, right?
He's just
Yeah,
bored.
that,
Yeah.
that's such an engaging character, and he did a
Hmm.
great job portraying it. Um, I just thought it was great all around, and there were some really deep and interesting themes, especially at the end with Falcon, where he's kind of saying like giving up, and the whole it ends by the machine finding out there's no winner, like there's
Hmm.
no way to win this game. And I think that's such a great way to put you know a theme of warfare.
Mm-hmm. Mr.
Yeah.
Mr. Biggie,
And even with life too. Yeah. There's no
Mhm.
winner. Like okay, let's all just live.
right?
All just
Right.
be. Yeah.
Right.
But Biggie. But go ahead, Biggie. Sorry.
Well, this movie, of course, took place during, basically kind of the last few years of the Iron Curtain kind of type situation there. So, of course, this movie hit people a lot harder at that point in time, especially when it came out. And one thing I love is seeing the old technology in this and
Mm.
seeing how far we've come since then. But, Lala, I agree with you that, he's such a smart kid. And for him to figure all this out is
Mhm.
just amazing, especially at that time when, kids are playing Oregon Trail or whatever. But
Yeah.
But all around, great film. I love seeing Dabney Coleman in there. He's always been a favorite of mine. He was in that movie Cloak and Dagger with the kid Elliot from E.T. I don't know if you guys seen that, but that was a cool movie. But yeah, I loved War Games. It was a great film. I've been watching that movie since I was single digits. So.
Same.
Yeah.
I've seen this movie a lot of times. I'll be honest. I watched this movie 3 months ago and then rewatched it again now for the show. That's how much I love this movie.
Somebody's a fan.
So it seems like universally this panel does like this movie. But again, the movie, it sits pretty high on the list of fun, good 80s movies that still hold up. And I think the reason this movie still holds up, and we're going to, of course, get kind of down to the brass tacks here, but for me, when I watch it this time, things have changed since the last time I watched it in the world today. And we're back to a time where things are a little closer to this than they were for the last 25 years, 30 years. And that was eye opening as I was kind of sitting there going, it won't be as organized as this, but it's definitely still relevant. And that was freaky because now things have changed even more dramatically since the technology of that era, and AI and deep fakes and all these things are very real now. And so it's scary. To mention about AI, Law, because you brought up AI, I would argue, or some people might argue, I think this is probably true, that 2001 inspired the villain computer in this film because HAL is 100% the most evil.
Space Odyssey?
The Space Odyssey. HAL is 100% the most evil AI robot in kind of cinema history.
Well, I said one of the first.
Yeah, no, for sure. And this was a great take on it because it was almost a benign bad guy where the computer was just doing what it was told, or Joshua. I like that they kind of called it this kid's name.
Yeah, Joshua wasn't sure what he was doing. I mean, he didn't have that real world element in his knowledge. You know
but essentially, Joshua, the computer, is very much like if it was a child Joshua that had this power.
Right.
So like it was kind of like this was Falcon's like kid mentally in a way that was just like, well, Dad, you told me to do this thing,
right.
and exactly. I'm doing it, and so what do you want me to do? And then he's like, no, I have to teach my son more because you have to teach your kids how to kill people.
Right.
You have to teach your kids they can't say everything they want to say. You know what I mean? So it was like he didn't get to the point where he taught his son something. So that was, to me, that was an interesting way to look or take.
That's a good point. One of our commenters said Tron was also a year before Wargames, and so there was a big theme in the early 80s of all of these things because computers were becoming real. They were starting to move into people's homes. You mentioned Oregon Trail. We were playing computers at school for the first time, for the very first time, and those are some of our earliest experiences. I remember after Oregon Trail, I was taking other classes with like DOS, and I was like, this is so boring. Like, this isn't even the... And it was. I wish I would have paid attention because...
you could have been somewhere else, man.
The other one that I think of, because we're kind of on the subject of AI, but I think of another AI that didn't learn from its maker, and that's Ultron, who decided, no, you guys aren't worth saving, or you get like Vicky from iRobot, where we're just not worth saving.
Okay, I wanna like test that though, because I feel like Ultron did learn from Tony. He just learned the opposite.
That's fair.
But he did learn from Tony. He's like
he took it to the extreme.
He's honestly what an unchecked Tony Stark could be. He's an unchecked Tony Stark.
I've been saying that. Yeah. I think we had an argument last year about that. Anyway.
Yeah, you did. We did.
If you guys haven't watched our previous podcast, La and I have been doing podcasts for a while now, over a year.
Yeah, I think it's been like a year or some change.
So, but we did another podcast.
We always we always argue about Tony Stark. Tony Stark is like our arguing point, and it's funny. Always, I love it though. So.
Law is pro Tony. I'm anti Tony. As far as him being a hero, not a good character, not even like a martyr. All those things are all true. But do we consider him an actual hero or not?
I do.
She does. I don't. I do by technicality in the film, but I don't. Anyway.
Yeah.
Anyway. Go watch
it's so great. Episodes. I love it so much.
So did you guys, how much of this was believable to you? How much suspension of disbelief did you have to do?
So for me, it was a little bit, because the concept is a little over the top, but I think it makes sense, like thematically, I guess, because during the 80s when computers were being really introduced, the older generation didn't really have a grasp on how it worked and everything. The only people, the older generation that did, were the ones that invented it or worked on it or were like really into that. But the average adult didn't really know much about computers to that extent. Whereas the kids and the younger generation were like, "This is so cool! I'm gonna figure everything out about
Right.
it." And obviously, some adults did that too. I don't mean to
Sure. No,
overgeneralize,
you're
but
good.
Yeah.
you know, as a trend, the younger generation was more like, "I'm gonna figure this computer out." So I think thematically, from the demographic that they're portraying in the 80s, I could totally see some guy messing around on his computer and then accidentally stumbling into that, So I think it's believable in that sense, like thematically.
How about you guys? Any suspension of
Um,
disbelief needed, or were you just like, yeah, this
I
works?
mean, I lived during a time where like motion capture gave me like Avatar and stuff like that. Like so, like I can look back at this film and kind of be like, this is dope for the time in which it came out because it's like you didn't know much about kind of like on Sinjin's point, like you didn't know much about computers, so like anything was possible, right? You would believe kind of like what's on screen to be like the government created a smart computer. You're not going to be like, there's no way that the government did that because the government is such like a figurehead. Even now that you're like, of course they have the
And the head of
technology.
technology in a lot of ways.
Right. Of course they have the technology to do this thing. So part of me is like, I'm not, no, I didn't have to suspend much because I have so much like, I guess like foreshadowing knowledge or foresight knowledge because of this, how old this movie is, that it's like, I can see this because it paved the way for other things. But also, I kind of related to Matthew Broderick's character just a touch because I remember when we had like dial up internet and my family couldn't afford it. And remember AOL used to always send like those little CDs in the mail where you can get like free internet for like 30 days or whatever.
We used to have to
Um,
pay in very weird increments for our phones, for our texts,
no,
and
literally everything.
and for our
Everything
internet.
you have to pay for. It's like
Yeah.
crazy. They just found new ways to gouge you, like instead of just putting it in front of your face. But like I remember stumbling kind of on figuring out how I could connect the internet to like connect the internet to my computer and I didn't know like I was just like, oh, this cord matches this thing on the back of my thing and I was like, I plugged it in and I did these things and next thing you know I was on the internet and my mom was like, how did you do that? And I was like, I have no clue. So for him to kind of be like he knew some things but he didn't know exactly what he was going into. So I kind of was like on his side during that. I was like, this is possible. Like you can experiment. It's like science. You can experiment and like you can leave something out and let it mold and now it's penicillin and you're like, oh yeah, I invented it. I figured it out. And
I
so
invented it. I love that.
I invented it. I got it. And so I'm like, I invented the internet. So I figured it out, you guys. And so like I kind of like was on his side, Matthew Broderick's side with that. So that's the part that I kind of held on to. I was like, this could have been me if I was smarter. So,
Free text and calls after 9 p.m. That's right.
oh my
Playground.
God, yes, that
Yes,
is so
that's right.
true. Oh,
We also, Sinjin, I know that you're fairly young, and this is not. It's just a different weird world that we lived in. But the payphone thing, that's got to throw you off a little bit, because he's messing around with a device you may have never picked up in your life.
I've never used a payphone before.
Which is fine. I mean, that's just the reality that it is. But we all kind of had these ideas about those because of movies. So like we saw Matthew Broderick make a fake, do that thing with the metal and make a call, or Hackers where they record the tone and like play it back and you get free. Like we were all
Yeah.
eating up this kind of movie crap that wasn't all technologically true.
Not
Which,
true at all.
right. Um,
yeah.
what I think is interesting about the film is that the mountain they show you that they're at, which is where NORAD is in real life, is Mount Cheyenne in Colorado. So all of that's true. And the mountain they shot for Be Real with Matthew Broderick at the phone booth, that's not really Be Real, but you know what I mean, is also Mount Cheyenne. So like they actually shot in location because it's 1983. What else are you going to do? There's no green
Right.
screen. So I believe, I don't know if it was Oregon, it might have been Washington that they filmed both the Seattle shots and then Goose Island. Could have easily been Washington. But I like that it says Oregon, being that I'm from Oregon. So that's cool. I love the giant silos, the giant doors. Everything looks so epic and large and scary. Like, oh, they really locked themselves in.
Menacing.
very menacing. But then the general's just kind of a jolly, like kind of a rough ass, but still a human. Like he has feelings and growth even as a character, which I really love. You don't see that with military characters. I think Sinjin was kind of alluding to that earlier. So yeah, I don't know. What do you remember the most about it, Biggie, from when you were a kid?
I just remember how big the computers were because I'd never seen like that in person. I'd never seen that in person, but they used to keep these big computers in these huge rooms, and it was like 35 megabytes.
Right.
So it's just amazing to see how far technology's come since then. I do remember what was it? Falcon had like a drone. You remember that?
The pterodactyl, or I'm sorry,
The pterodactyl
it's not a
drone.
pterodactyl.
I always thought that was kind
Yeah.
of cool. I don't know, maybe a little bit ahead of its time. I mean, I know there's been airplanes and things, but that was kind of unique to me.
Hannah mentioned the floppy disks, those giant, not the little floppy
Oh
disks,
my
but the
god!
giant
No,
floppy
the
disks.
big
five-
ones.
five by
Oh my
five?
god!
Yeah, the huge ones, right? And he's got
It
the
was
giant door,
huge.
right, to
It was
close.
huge. I had a computer like that. Like my aunt was like a computer person, and she got a new computer that I'm pretty sure was like a updated. Like I think she got like a Mac, and she gave us her old like IBM or something. Like she gave us like her old like computer, and I was just so excited to have a computer. And I'm only 35, and that just shows you how far technology has like really really come. Because I was like a kid, and I was just like, oh my god, we got a computer, or we were just that poor. But anyway, I was like, oh my god, I got a computer. I'm so excited, and she had like all these floppy disks, and that's where I taught myself how to type. Is because I would use like Mavis Beacon floppy disk to teach myself how to type, and then now I'm
Yeah.
just like, no, I love those times. It's like it's such a simpler but like still like inventive, like magical type of time to like learn these things. But man, floppy disks are the bane of my existence because if that bad boy messed up, that's it.
Don't go
Yeah.
anywhere near any power of magnet at all, or you will
Oh,
lose
no.
your floppy disk.
Corrupted, it's gone. You
Right,
cannot
forever.
save it.
So like these days, like you can like your phone can like have magnets touching it, and it's no big deal. But back in the
It's
day,
no problem.
if you
Back
took your
then,
PS2 card
oh my
through a
god.
sensor at a grocery store, you lost your PS2 card data because of the
Yeah.
magnets in it.
Really?
It happened to
Look at
me.
the
Don't ever
magnets,
do it, man.
Magnets were
Pretty
something
sure I did
strong
that
back
too.
then.
Oh, I was so pissed. I had
crazy.
so many saves. Like I couldn't believe it, and I was such a
Yeah.
gamer on my PS2.
Time is like, and that's what I'm trying to explain to people. And it's weird because it's like I keep saying I'm only 35 years old, and like technology when it comes to like video games and things like that. It used to be like we went from like duck hunts where you could have a gun and shoot it at your screen that was just like like you blow your mind like, oh my gosh, like how did it know that I pulled the trigger and I shot the thing that I
Right.
was
Do you want
looking
to
at?
know how?
Like it's just crazy. Yes, I can. And then it's like it's just crazy because I do want to know because that's been part of my childhood for so long. Like it's crazy to think about that, but then now it's like we have virtual reality, something that that you saw in movies back then that you didn't even think could like possibly exist. But but we're so jaded about it now, like we don't understand how great that type of technology actually is. It's scary too because it's kind of like they can like imprint your body, kind of like thing. But still, it's just like everything. But how did they do it? Tell me.
So the screen actually flashed, and the gun was actually a sensor that picked up the flash.
Yeah, it had to do with the light, right? The light that.
The tube itself would go, and it would tell you.
Yeah.
And so, where you were aiming the sensor when the light hit it is where it would get close to the hitbox on the duck.
Which is sometimes why it never worked.
Was sometimes why it never worked because it wasn't actually shooting something
Yes,
or like there was no laser. It was literally the gun receiving the information and giving you an estimation based upon hitboxes. So yeah, that's how video games still work. They're just those hitboxes are a lot tighter, and people complain about them all
way
the
better.
time.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to look up the stats for the Whopper, and I'm struggling, but I can't imagine it was more than megabytes, even for such a powerful computer in the early 80s. Which means that this right here is like 50 Whoppers in one little device.
It's pretty insane.
Yeah.
Our Whoppers have names, like better names. Siri, Echo, Alexa, Google.
Google, right? They're similar but different,
They're modern day Whoppers, man. Like if we really, they teach us different languages, and they can raise a child probably if they had enough power or enough
Right.
Like,
I
for real,
don't want
you know?
the internet raising children. I don't want to see what
No.
those children
Oh, I
end up
really
looking
don't.
like.
We'll get honestly. I feel like we'll get a lot of Ultrons if that happens. That's what Ultron did. He went to the internet.
a bunch of
and
a
it threw him off.
bunch of Anakins and Ultrons running around. We don't need either of those. Right? We don't need either of those.
Yeah, that's
Um,
it.
At least there wouldn't be any younglings.
oh,
Listen,
too
that
soon.
scene lives in
Too
infamy.
soon. Sorry. If you guys are not caught up on Obi-Wan, you should be because it's
I'm
been a
not.
great series.
Shush.
That's all I'm going to say. You know me. I'm a spoiler. But I'm caught up on a TV show. That's weird. Okay. I'm caught up on a TV show. But it's because it's Obi-Wan.
I'm gonna get there. I still haven't watched Hawkeye yet. I'm gonna get there one day. I promise.
Dude, Hawkeye's such a good show.
Because it's like I want to record myself. I'm actually in search. So if anybody sees this and you know anybody that like does video editing for like YouTube channels and stuff like that, I need somebody to edit my stuff because it's just too much for me to record it and edit it and get it out on time. I need somebody to take care of that.
I would do it, but I have no time, so I'd have to start charging.
We don't have time. I
Right,
know.
I'd have to
and
charge
I'm
for
willing
it in order to make it worth it.
No,
Because that's how
I
little
would
time.
actually, I would pay somebody to do it. Like I couldn't pay them like a whole bunch, but we can come to like a.
Did you see what
thanks
just
for
happened?
the sub, Joker.
Joker, you're amazing. You just gave out 5 subs.
Joker.
Thank you so much. That Will Wilkins is now subscribed and is now a real,
Vicky
real
said,
study.
how dare you
a real
usurp my
student.
first place.
I'll
Let's see.
get it back next show.
Nerds,
I'll get it back.
nerd girlish, I can't even say that name. As well as wow, internet names are so difficult. Hey, Sinjin, you are now actually a real study student, so that's awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you, Joker. You're amazing for that. We
Yeah.
appreciate it.
But yeah, I do need somebody, so I'm just putting that out right there right now. If you know
All right.
anybody that edits videos, I'm willing to work on like a price for like I have a lot of stuff I need edited, and I would like want to build a partnership so that like maybe if they'll edit some stuff, I'll give you money for it. We can work on something because I think that's what's really slowing down my YouTube page is that I don't get to get stuff out as fast as I would like to.
This is why most of my TikToks are about this long. Because if I really had time, I would be making much more long form content.
Epics, huge epics.
Well, maybe not epics, but at least shorts like the one I just released a few days ago.
The Iron Man short, that was
yeah.
funny.
That was great.
I appreciate you mentioning that Rhodey's pause where he goes, like that.
Listen, his pause. Listen, that was okay. When I saw the original video that it came from, I've heard this song throughout my entire life. I probably know the lyrics very well, that kind of stuff, but I just never knew like where it kind of like got famous or came from. So when you showed the original video, I was like, okay. So then when I watched your video, I was looking at all the moments and I was like, when you started showing Rhodey, I was like, if he does not stop it at the part where he goes like this, and you did, and I was just like, oh, it's so good, because that's such TV classic, like, because for a long time, even shows in the '90s did stuff like that, like Family Matters and all those stuff. They all paused, like,
so
type of thing. So that was just good.
People came into the comment section and were like, I can't believe this works with Tony Stark. And what people don't understand is name a movie series that has enough footage, obviously, for me to pick a main character, the sidekick, and the love interest. And I notice I didn't put any genders on anything. I will take those 3 characters and I can make that exact preview with just about anything. Lord of the Rings, Superman, you name it. Like, I can go nuts. And it's because the themes are there and all you got to do is get the shots close. So it was fun. I really enjoy it because, well, I like editing.
It was really clean.
I
Really
was too. Yeah, it was.
Well, that's CapCut for you, and it's also painstaking to do it on your phone. I did that entire thing on my phone, which don't do that.
It is
do it on a
painstaking,
tablet.
yeah.
Don't torture yourself.
Yeah. Honestly, though, I love CapCut. I put a video in there that was heavily like distorted, and CapCut cleans it up for me just automatically. Like I didn't even have to add stuff to it. It's just it rendered into the editing thing clean, and I was just like, well, thank you for cleaning that up because I don't have to do it myself. So that was cool. I like CapCut.
Since we're a little off the rails anyway, just so you guys know, there is a new feature coming to TikTok that will be adding a lot of those CapCut features right into the app. So go get used to it.
I have a few CapCut features already in mind.
So there's a few like clip features and things, but this is actually going to like bring in everything, including like bringing so you can like adjust and move your clips around and length and clipping, everything.
Voice effects? I like voice effects.
I know you do. You and I kind of have a thing for voice effects. There's something about those. Except here on this show, we're just all natural and in full glorious Technicolor, and there it is. So this film was about the Cold War. Like this was another
Mm-hmm.
reaction because there were many, many, many films in the 1970s and 80s, even the 60s, 70s, and 80s. And this film came out, I think, the same year as The Day After. I don't know if you guys know what that film was, but that was
Robards.
right. There was a TV film, so made for TV movie with Jason Robards that showed what it would be like if War Games went through, like if it actually happened.
Oh, that's
And
interesting.
Frightening.
it's brutal. Like it was actually filmed in Lawrence, Kansas. My grandmother is actually an extra in that movie, strangely enough. But they laid everybody that was an extra in Lawrence out and like put them in like stretchers, and like the whole town was laid out like they were dead, and they filmed it. And yeah, the movie definitely, it's old, but the like scope is still there. You can go back and watch it. So there was a lot of fear of nuclear war. So this film was kind of on par with everything else. And it is interesting because it does show Reagan in one shot, kind of inferring that he's the president at the time and giving him a level head in the film. And I bet you that's what the military had to agree on in order to be a part of the film. I'm almost willing to bet you.
Yeah,
Because they
probably
wouldn't
so.
want to slight the president and in a time when this is a serious deal. So, yeah. Did you guys catch the two actors in the beginning of the film? No. Okay, so Michael Madsen is one of the beginning
Oh
characters.
yeah. Michael Madsen.
Oh yeah, he's
yeah.
so young.
He's
He's so young.
So young.
No, I literally said that when I watched it. I was like, "Is that Michael?" I was like, "Is that a young Michael Madsen?" And I looked at the cast, and I was like, "Yeah, it is him."
And
So,
then John Spencer is the other guy. He's from The West Wing and a few other big shows. He's been around a while. So it's interesting to see when just a couple of. The film was called The Day After, yes. So yeah, it's really interesting when you get these kind of little parts by actors that later on you're like, oh, that's a huge actor. Like Michael Madsen, he was in
Yeah.
Reservoir Dogs. Like, you know, he cut that dude's ear off. Spoiler alert.
Spoiler.
If you haven't seen Reservoir Dogs. Okay, so I feel like War Games is kind of, we're winding down here, or I don't even know if we wound all the way up, but I have
What
a
are the
feeling the next movie we're gonna have some dialogue about. I have a feeling. So why don't we move to the next movie? Why don't we go ahead and start with Biggie? Give me your rating, and you know how we do this, so it's going to be your kid rating and your adult rating, 1 to 10. You make your scale. Go for it.
Well, thinking about how things stand the test of time, the story itself, all the basic things are there for accidental nuclear war. So that in itself is frightening. So taking that into effect and the time when it was, I would say, as a child, I probably would have liked it because I did like it as a child. And I probably would have rated it probably about an 8 back then. And I'm going to go ahead and stick with that now as an 8.
So
8
it's
out of
just
10.
stayed the same for you. You just love it.
Yeah, it's always been a great movie. I'm not going to lowball it because it's a great movie.
Agreed. St. John.
I'm gonna give the same for like a kid review and now same thing, 8 out of 10 for both, because I think if I watched this when I was younger, it has the younger main character. The adults don't listen to him. I would be able to relate to that, when I was a kid, and I would definitely connect with the main character. So I'd really like it when I was a kid, and then I like it now because I understand the full breadth of the context of the Cold War and all the nuances that go into that. So 8 out of 10 for both. I really loved it.
I love it. Lala.
Can I just say one of the most scenes that like made me laugh is the scene where Falcon is like in the helicopter and they're running around. I'm like, you can't outrun the helicopter. Just stop.
Also, stop ducking and falling on the ground. Maybe just run. Like,
No, literally,
beeline
like,
it, you know?
just run. Like, they just kept tripping. Oh my god! And just like, and I was like, I verbally talk to myself when I watch movies by myself. So it's just like, it makes me feel like I'm not alone. So I'm like talking to myself, and I'm just like, why are they doing this? I'm like, just stand still. You have no choice. If you're caught, you're caught.
Right.
And then you're running in circles. Nobody's running towards the house.
It's not like
or
he's going to
anything
cut
like
you
that.
with the helicopter. He's not going to land on you. Like, that's not, even if they're the
Like,
police, that's not
like,
what they're going to do.
exactly. They're gonna like cut sideways so the blades can hit you. Like I'm not understanding that, but that part made me laugh very hard. I don't know if my 12-year-old self would watch this, even though this came out in like the year I was born, I think. 12-year-old me probably would watch it because I've always found Matthew Broderick attractive, so I probably would have been watching this and like, but I couldn't give it a rating for my 12-year-old self. Me now though, I give this a solid 7.5 out of 10. Like I can watch this again. I can watch this again. I don't. This was during a time where like female characters were unnecessary. They were just there because it was like you need a cute famous girl to put in the movie because the movie wouldn't change if she wasn't there. Like it just wouldn't change.
That's what Hannah just said too. She needed more Ali Sheedy.
Yeah, or I needed her to be more than just like because at first she kind of started off like I didn't even see that actually. So yeah, um, I needed her to be more than just like this cute girl intrigued by his smartness. And
Right.
that's essentially was her character. She was just like, "How did you figure this out? Oh, the computer talks. Oh, I like you now because you made
Now,
me laugh at one time in class."
she was initially invested in him because of his charm and wit, my friend.
Mm.
His smartness didn't become the thing until they got back to his house and he showed off his computers, which he was a little embarrassed to
Yeah.
do. So I would actually say
You know,
that was a possible downside that she ended up liking him for. So that's just me. I've seen the movie
well,
far too many
hey,
times, I think.
hey, hey, however it is, I wanted her to have like because at first she kind of started off as like a moral center for him. She was like,
Right.
"Don't change my grade. Like, do not change my grade. Leave it how it is. Like, it's fine." And then she was just like, "So you can change my grade?" I was just like, "No, you need to be like his good angel. Like he's already his own bad angel. Like his bad devil. Like he's already his devil. Like be his." So she just wasn't a thing. Like again, it's very Indiana Jones. If he just took her out of the thing, it would.
Now, actually, there's a moment at the very end which I always think is a little out of place, and you're kind of fits to what you're saying. At the very end, she actually tells all the military guys, "No, let him try again." Like she had any authority in that room
Yeah.
Like none at
whatsoever.
all. Like none at all. Like even that. Like honestly, like you said, it felt very out of place. I was just like, "What are we doing here, honey? Like
Right.
we're not nobody." Like they literally shoved him in a room. They could care less about you. Like there was no reason for her presence. Like she was just a tag along, and like I never liked that about movies. When I go back and watch old movies, but
Mm.
you got to get over it because you're like, okay, it's the movie.
Right. It
Fine.
is already built in.
You know,
You can't get rid of
it is
it.
already
Right.
built. They can't get rid of it. So, but I would have just loved. I would have just loved if she just man, if she was just more somehow she was just like secretly just as smart as him or knew something about something he didn't know or maybe she knew some like computer stuff or
Maybe
something.
she came up with the tic tac toe thing on her own.
No, she
I think
didn't.
she
No,
got
I'm
a
saying that would be awesome if she was the
Oh
one
no,
that
no,
figured
that would
out
have
the tic
figured
tac
it
toe
out.
thing
Yeah,
to
yeah,
teach the
yeah,
computer
yeah,
Mhm.
while the computer
yeah.
geniuses couldn't figure it out. That would have made for an amazing
That
moment.
would be because she's been listening this whole time. At least be somebody that absorbs information or something.
Right,
Like I
right.
don't know.
But no, you're right. She is a bump on the
Yeah,
wall. Like she doesn't
I
do
give it a
much. She's
solid
a love
7.5.
interest, you know.
I still enjoyed it though. It was still funny. It still had some charm. It still had very like moments of like levity, but then moments of seriousness because like when they were in the cabin with Falcon, even though that cabin was a nice cabin, I was like, hot damn, let me get a piece of
Projector
that
screen
cabin.
built in.
You know what I mean? I'm like, let me get a piece of that cabin. Like even for the 80s, I'm like, well shit.
That lake
It's
seemed like
hood.
half his somehow. I don't
You know
know.
what I mean? I'm like, okay, but like even then, like he could care less about what they had to say. She was like, I'm 17 and I don't want to die. He still looked at her like, girl, I don't care. But I feel like if maybe Matthew Broderick's character would have said something, because it'll be like his son talking. Like, how would you? Even though she said like, what if it was your son? But I just feel like they all felt too familial, and it was just like, why? This is a stranger. Like, he can help y'all, but he's a
What
stranger.
changed Falcon's mind, though? We never see that. It almost feels like there was a
No, we
scene they
never see
cut,
that.
right? That we don't see him
Yeah.
stewing upstairs for a moment, or maybe seeing a picture of Joshua is all we needed to see him see. Just show me
Yeah.
him looking at a picture of
Yeah.
Joshua, and I'll know his motivations. But all of a
It was
sudden,
like
he's
he
just
was
like, "I'm in a
like it
helicopter."
was
Okay,
it was kind of like
it was a little
he
weird.
was like, y'all can stay. You know, that's weird. Strangers come stay in my crib.
And
But
they're
anyway,
both
They were
underage.
and they're both
they
like,
were
it's
just
just like
relying
weird.
on the audience's empathy.
Right, they really
Yeah,
were. Well,
yeah. But yeah,
again, it's the '80s, and we were all worried
it
the
is the
war
80s.
was
So
in
and
crooked.
plus, you let some stuff go because it is the 80s. Like stories are way more fleshed out now. Characters, like even side characters, have better development now than they did back then. Like you just don't give a character one line unless that one line is so heartfelt that they die scenes later that it like you
They
feel
had a
you're like, oh
little.
my god,
All the
that's that
dialogue on the
person.
side, yeah. All the dialogue on the side
Yeah,
here was like, "I hope you like vodka." "Oh yes, sir, I like vodka,"
yeah,
because the
like that's
Russians were attacking, or whatever. For
or it's like
myself,
arrogant people. It's
right?
crazy. Continue. Sorry.
For myself, it's a 10 and a 10.
Shocker.
My scale is pretty much a 10 as anything I'll watch again and love, and I have a lot of 10s. I don't care what people think of that. This is one of them. I've watched this movie way too many times. No, not enough times. I'll be watching it more.
I'll give the director's next movie 10 out of 10. It's Short Circuit with Ali Sheedy. She got a better role eventually. See,
Shout out to Short Circuit. I remember that movie.
It's
I
weird.
had it on VHS.
She went from sci-fi to Breakfast Club. Anyway,
yeah, that's true. Yeah,
And that's the scene. Yeah. I like her in Psych though. If you've seen her in Psych,
I haven't.
that she plays a very crazy person in Psych, and her smile works for that role. I'm trying to tell you, her smile is bang on. I'm trying to tell you.
Something to consider. We are going to move on to the movie Robin Hood. This is a 2018 production. This is starring Taron Egerton, known as the kid from Kingsman, and also from Rocket Man, as well as Jamie Foxx. And there are others, but I'm going to have to look up the IMDb because I don't remember these actors' names, as terrible as that may be. Here I go, looking them up now.
Marion is Eve Hewson.
Ben Middleton.
Ben Mendelsohn is Sheriff Nottingham. Jamie Dornan.
And Tim Minchin was an interesting addition. That was
yeah,
something to me. Because Tim is very much just a comedian, so it was really odd to see him acting, not like acting like Tim Minchin, but so this is a retelling again of the Robin Hood story. We've had lots of these in cinema since the 30s. I think they've been making Robin Hood movies, which is fine. I don't have a problem with remaking classics. I think that they should be remade for each generation. That's how it should be done. So if anything, this is a Gen Z Robin Hood, right? So
yeah,
I tried to keep that in mind as I was watching this movie. So let's go with initial impressions. I did go with Law last time, even though this was technically her pick. I'm going to go with St. John and see what St. John thought of this film first.
All right, so this was my first like Robin Hood movie that I saw, and you said it's like the Gen Z Robin Hood. It was definitely a movie. It was a movie that they shot on camera. They edited it together, and I watched it. That's for sure.
All right, that's an initial impression.
I don't want this to be the Gen Z Robin Hood because it was just to me, it was just a very bland movie. And like at every point in the movie, I'm like, oh no, I hope something doesn't happen to the character that I don't care about. Oh no, I hope something doesn't happen to this person that I can't name one character trait for. I also thought that it was very, the production quality was very high. It was very kind of cinematic. But I thought the costuming was a little weird because if you took a frame from some of it, I would not have guessed it's from like medieval times. I would have guessed it from much
later. Yeah,
maybe even the future, honestly.
Yeah.
They didn't know how to stitch like that. They didn't know how to stitch like that.
The sheriff's, he had this, I don't know materials, but this like jacket thing, and I was like,
it was like quilted. I'm like,
no, it was GQ, straight GQ.
I'm like, did they have quilted like stuff back then?
It was an amazing jacket, but
they did good on the costumes, but they were out of place, right? So.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and there's like the one shot where the people are revolting and they kind of have like the fire in their hands and they're walking, they have their masks up. And I'm like, this looks like just a riot scene from a modern
just from movie. A city, pick Portland, Baltimore, like, anywhere, right?
It's a medieval village. What are they wearing?
Yeah.
So,
no, I'm with you.
That's my initial reaction.
Biggie, what's your initial reaction?
Well, I'm growing up a fan of Prince of Thieves, right? So Kevin Costner, that whole thing, and that is my Robin Hood. But going into this movie, I tried to keep an open mind about everything. My original assessment was, okay, it's entertaining, although certain things with it are, I don't know, they obviously over dramatize certain things, like the point where Jamie Foxx has him under fire And it's kind of playing out like you would assume something would be in Iraq, but they've got bows and this Kevlar that looks like Kevlar,
Mhm.
and it's
Mhm.
what it's during the Crusades, so that's like the 1100s. Like, yeah, that's no,
It's the 12th
it
century.
wasn't believable. It wasn't believable. Colors were too bright.
Too bright. I like that. Lala, what made you pick this movie?
I knew I probably wouldn't have watched it any other way because I've never seen it before. But I was just like, let's watch something, and I was like, I've always wanted to see it because I like the story of Robin Hood. I like the time it takes place. Plus, I like anything with Jamie Foxx. I just want to see how good or bad his acting is for the most part because he's hit or miss. Like I love Jamie Foxx, he's hilarious, but he's hit or miss. Like sometimes the director can really direct him, and then sometimes you get what you get. So um, I don't know. Like I agree with everything that Sinjin and Biggie said because it's just like for them to be living in the slums. Marion was quite stylish. Is all I can
She
say.
even had
Her
makeup.
leather her leather jacket with her little white shawl and everything. Like it
Oh,
was
she
just
was like,
like
she had gloves and she was wearing
you know what I mean.
like there was
And then
lace involved.
because this is what irks me just a little bit because of how it starts, for me personally, they don't establish the characters because they go in with the idea that the crowd already knows so much about Robin Hood. Like you know the
Right.
tale, you know the story, but you're still telling. You literally told like an origin of of Robin Hood. Like we haven't really seen origins. Like I know I haven't. Like you usually see him, he's already in his like thieving, and then he like meets Marion, and it's like, oh my god, it's a thing. But this one, you saw like the start of Robin Hood. You know, first he was just like Lord Loxley, and you saw the start of Robin. Like it had so much. This could have been very very well done because you origin out Robin Hood like he didn't have Little John at first. He didn't have Friar stuff. Like he was building these people, you know. And plus he was so young. I mean, whenever we see, it's very Batman like. Whenever we see Robin Hood, he's a grown man. He is a
True.
grown man, and this time we got to see like a young, I messed up, I had to learn type of Robin Hood. And I feel like they just went about it the wrong way. Like either you're going to be medieval or you're going to be modern. The only people who got it right was Romeo and Juliet, the Leonardo DiCaprio version, and that's because they went modern, but they kept the speech in the
Shakespearean
Shakespearean type of
dialogue.
way.
Yeah.
You
Boz
know, so
Luhrmann.
to me, Bob Lerman, man, that's why I'm going to go see Elvis. I'm just saying. So it's just it's one of those things where it's like if they would have just like I don't know blended it a little bit better, this movie could have been really well done because there was just a lot of things that like what's his name? Jamie Foxx is Arabian, which means that he speaks Arabic, but he has an
Hmm.
English accent, and I just didn't. I mean, like maybe my history is wrong, but I was like,
So he would have
and
been
it could,
Moorish. He would have been coming from northern Africa to invade the
exactly
yeah.
no, but
So
he's a Moor. They call
right.
him Moor, so it's just like, why aren't you? His accent just wasn't right for me. And plus, it's like Jamie Foxx's he can't speak. It's not an English accent. It's not good, is what I'll say. It's just not good. And so I don't know. It was just like a lot of stuff. Like the clothing was kind of unbelievable. I was right there with the war effort was just like we fight wars with bows and arrows. Like I'm confused on what they have like swords and like arrows that's like very like machine gun arrows type things, but then it's like but y'all just have bows and arrows. Like I was just like
Every arrow in this movie had the ability to destroy stone, much like a bullet did, and I didn't understand that. I
I
was
didn't
like,
understand it
this
either. I
doesn't
was like,
like I
what's
understand.
happening?
We have to suspend disbelief. I get that.
Hmm.
But I can only suspend it so far. Watching somebody
Hmm.
have a Gatlin arrow gun, I'm like, where the hell did they get this in this 12th
That's what I
century?
mean
Like, it makes no
by like
sense.
world building. They didn't build the world out enough for me to believe that like they could create something this powerful or like we've got our best technician or maybe it's magic that fuels these things,
Sure.
but you don't add that in or we don't know. It's just like I'm just supposed to be like, all right, everybody got bright clothes even though they living in the slums
Right.
and and then it was just like I don't know. I mean, and I guess because he kicked everybody out of Nottingham, I guess because and they took all their possessions that they could take with them. So there probably was some wealthy people, type people that were living there. But I don't know. The world just didn't feel thoroughly thought out to me.
It was two places. It was Nottingham and it was the
Yeah,
mine.
Canna, I know.
And that
Yeah,
was
yeah,
it,
yeah.
Oh,
right? And those were both places. For myself, I was watching this movie and I'm like, I was kind of jazzed. I'm like, I love Robin Hood. I've watched a lot of the versions. By the way, if you do want to watch a prequel version that's actually decent, the Russell Crowe version is actually not terrible. And they kind of, it's pre Robin Hood, right? Leading up to.
Yeah.
And of course, everybody has the idea of Costner in their mind, who never did a British accent. Whatever, that's fine. We don't care. We accept it. But the story at least stuck to the story of Robin Hood, right? You get the Sherwood Forest, you get Little John, you get Will Scarlet. And the idea that this director and the screenwriters were like, here's the story of Robin Hood. And I like the name Tuck, and I like the name Will, and I like the name Rob, which made me angry to hear that.
Oh,
Yeah.
100%.
I like Marion, which I'm like, wait, why didn't we just call her Mare? Like, I mean, that's what the whole movie was doing. And then Will Scarlet wasn't related to Robin Hood. He's just his like rival. Like, what the shit was that? And then Friar Tuck worked for the sheriff directly rather than being like part of the Nottingham like hierarchy. He was just like his right hand man. I just so 15 minutes in, I started to get annoyed. Like I just started to get really annoyed, and I was like, "Oh Lord, I actually have to finish this movie." In most circumstances, I would have shut this movie off and never touched it again. I would have shut it off right around the time they said his name was Rob. I would have been like, "No." When they had him do the like, so this was like wanting to be Kingsman, wanting to be 007, wanting to be something new where maybe they can make a franchise. That's kind of what they were edging for in all these different ways.
Especially in that ending scene. I was like, we're not getting another one of these. Stop that.
Nope.
And that's how they played it. And that was the most anticlimactic ending I've ever seen in a movie. Pretty bad. But they couldn't figure out what this movie was. And the idea that Robin played both sides, I'm just like, no offense to Ben Middleton, but you're trying to fill in the shoes of Alan Rickman. It's just never gonna happen. Just,
but honestly, if I'm gonna have to say something, he was the highlight of this whole
he was
thing.
good.
Like,
oh no,
his
yeah.
acting to me is the reason why I stayed to watch it. I was just like, it got to a point where I was like, oh, he's the one that took this seriously. No offense to nobody else or nothing like that. Like, cause sometimes stuff just don't hit. Some just don't go the way you want it to go. But for me, I was like, oh, he's deliciously nasty. Then when like his background shows that he was literally beat into this nastiness. Like so it was just like one of those things where I was like, he's an interesting villain. You know what I mean? Because like essentially he kind of isn't. He is, but he isn't because like his circumstances led to this. Just like circumstances kind of leads you to anywhere. But to me, he was like the draw. But I just feel like either make it medieval or make it modern. Which one you want? Because you can't have them in all this leather clad, and then they keep calling him Rob. They keep calling him Rob, and like, and then it was like he was like, what are you doing? Like when he was like the training montage, he was cutting up his coat, and he was just like, I like this coat, and he was like, now it's a jacket. I was like, did they say jacket back then? Like I was super annoyed. I was like, did they say coats and jackets? I was like, who wrote this? I was like so mad. I was just.
Ben Chandler and David James Kelly wrote
terrible.
this.
Yeah, no, the writers, screenwriters.
All they've written is this movie.
I'm about to say, haven't heard their name since. Haven't heard them since.
Yeah, this movie gets a bad rating, by the way, on IMDb. It gets a 5.3, which is really interesting. So this is something that I came up with when I was watching this, and I think this is maybe 30 minutes in. This movie only proves that it takes more than this movie proves that it takes more than a big budget, great actors, a classic story, and stylish shots to make a good movie. Because they have all of it. All of the elements to make a good movie are here, and it's a turd. Like it's like you're right about Ben Middleton. You know, when he said things like "I'm going to boil you in your own piss," I was like, "Oh shit, that's nasty."
It was like even his calm anger, like when he's like, I just he's like, you don't like them, like that whole exchange between them on the couch was just such like a good like look into like acting, like a master class into acting, because he was just sitting there and the way he told his story, like the look that Robin had on his face, I had that same look. I was like, well, dang, should I feel bad for him, or should I? Maybe we should stop the playing because the dude is crazy. Like even his death was good. Like I think him and Jamie Foxx played that. Like there's elements of this movie, of this film, that is like I thoroughly enjoyed. You know, there were elements like when he turned around and he saw like all the all the soldiers and the commoners like fighting. He gave himself up because like he started having like PTSD moments of like was in war. I was like, that's a good callback because you wouldn't think like it's medieval times. It's always war. People should be like, you could still get like,
Well, this is
you don't
England
really
too. They kind of you have to cross
you know
a big channel to go fight them. So
exactly. So you don't see a lot of that in these type of like films where like people are having like issues or so to bring that back up for him to give himself up and like that's good stuff. But man, oh man, like this could have been so great, and they just like it's like that they just didn't know how to storyboard it correctly.
Yeah,
If they would have
yeah.
made it in 2018, maybe.
like
If they would have made
said
it
it
like a
in
more
2018.
like set it in
Okay,
2018,
I
like
was
more
like,
of a modern.
they,
No, stop it. And then, like if they would have made this like setting in 2018, or if they just established the world better. Because here's the thing, I don't care about Marion and
at
and
all.
and Robin like at all. Like and even that little tidbit in the beginning, I was like, okay, like
Yeah, but
she
what
can
about his dad?
die.
What
He
about
can die.
his
Like what about his
groundskeeper? What
wife?
about all the other
Yeah.
characters that this story completely they left out every character from the Sherwood Forest.
Every
Little John is
every.
not in this movie. They gave the Marsh character John's name and just said that's John. I was like,
Hmm.
Yeah,
you're which is
I thought that
fine,
was
but
a random
they're
choice.
they're just pushing characters together, which is fine. But at the same time, I was like, there should be more people at his side for this. It was a group
Yeah,
effort, not just Robin Hood.
he needs
You know,
a band of merry men.
exactly.
This movie lost me in the first 5 minutes.
Love
It
it.
was I was going in with an open mind. I'm like, all right, I know it's got bad reviews, but it might be like one of those fun, movies. But then they go in, Rob meets Marion, and then I'm like, okay, so this is probably going to be the romance and whatever. And then it has a B-roll shot of them sitting next to get together, and then the voiceover narration just says, "And we fell in love." And I'm like, that you lost me. If there's a narration that says we fell in love, I immediately do not care about the relationship at all. No, you didn't fall in love. You
No,
told me
you
that.
didn't.
All I see is two people sitting next to each other.
And
And then
fondling each other a little bit, and that's about it.
yeah, and then he like goes off to war, and then when he comes back, his manners all messed up, and he's like Marion. I'm like, oh no, Marion.
Like I don't care. Like, I
Yeah,
don't
like,
care.
I love that he
felt
was
Nobody cares.
drafted.
nothing. I felt nothing during
Nothing
that
at all.
scene, and that
Like
should have
honestly, this could have been a really good modern day film.
been.
Honestly, he got drafted into the war.
No, I know.
Come on,
Okay, so we're talking about religious zealots as a kind of a rule, right? This is the era in which England and everybody was like, I'm going to fight for the king, right? But no, he had to be drafted by the sheriff of all people and then was like, I don't want to go to war. And that's where Biggie was right. It feels very much like modern day Iraq where, or Afghanistan,
Yeah.
where there's like, let's
Right.
draft you to go to the Middle East and fight in a war that's not yours. And then the twist of this movie.
Like him and the Cardinal.
The
being,
Cardinal.
like,
First,
together.
when Abraham shows up on screen, I'm like, oh, look, a legend that still can't save this
Yeah.
film. That's wonderful.
No, not at all.
Right,
No.
right.
So,
I think they wasted his character. Honestly, they didn't do enough.
If I'm
with
being
him.
totally honest, it would have been great if he was the sheriff of Nottingham. I don't know. Not to discredit
Agreed.
Ben Mendelsohn at all. Like he was great in the role. But to have him be the sheriff, I would have liked.
but you caught that it's Will that's the sheriff that we know, right?
That. Yeah.
That's what they said.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
what the movie's implying.
No, but then that was another thing too. I was just like, she just know how to pick them. Good job, Marion. I was just like, this guy's trash. I was just like, well, what? I was like, well, what are we? I was like, well, what are we doing? I was just like, my thing is, okay, I don't know. I've never like been in love, so I can't really like count it. But I also feel like there are a lot of people that I know, or like I've heard like accounts of stories where like they've loved somebody so much and that they went to war and they died and they just never found anybody again. And I'm not saying that's the route that you go, but the way that this movie set up their love, she should have never been with somebody else. Because it was just like, how dare this thing happen to us out of the blue and we just love each other. And then it's like, you was dead for like 2 years, bro. I just had to find me somebody else. And then it's like, you found somebody that's like, he treats you like a child. All he cares about, it's literally like they could have made this in modern day. His political career
As a
That's what
commoner
we're-
in the 12th century, right?
as a, you feel me? That's what he's worried. You're not worried about like where we're gonna get our next meal and the food that we're eating.
Right.
You're like, I want people to love and respect me.
Dude, you didn't move out of commonership
be
to
there.
lordship that easily, and it wouldn't have been because of speeches. You would have had to go on and conquer land.
Yeah.
So,
And he's just adult, and it's just like you couldn't tell that she loved him the moment he opened his mouth. Like you couldn't see it. Like, and then for them to kiss, you're like, I know what this is.
Oh, so I have a
Get
problem
away
with that.
from me.
So there's a line that Rob, I'm going to keep calling him that because I think
Yes, you
they
have
deserve
to.
it.
You
There's
have
a
to.
line that Rob says to Marion towards the end after they've done the heist, because this movie couldn't figure out what it was, so it became a heist
No,
movie
my,
for a little
my
while.
God.
Yeah.
It really
It was a lot
did.
of things. Yeah.
If you think I'm joking, go ahead and torture yourself.
No, for real.
So he turns to Marion after they've sent 50 commoners to their death. In
their death.
down
Like, oh.
down an alleyway full of fire and
50 pounds.
hardened, well-armed soldiers that are going to kick the shit out of all of them. And Rob goes, "We're not going to go to. We're not. We can't win." What did he say? Something like, "We can't win
Said,
without
I know what you're saying. I know you say. He says if we all don't survive, none of us do. But it's like you're just talking about will.
We don't make
We're
it if everyone doesn't make
everybody
it."
doesn't make
I
it.
wrote it down,
that
and
line
I'm
was
sitting there going,
stupid.
"So you mean if the 4 or 5 like merry people,
Yes.
not the 50 commoners you sent to their death?"
Yes.
Because if you didn't think you were
Yes.
killing them, you're a fool that doesn't know anything about tactics.
Yes.
And that bugged the crap, and it stuck with me. I'm just like, that
I was
sealed
like,
the deal for me. I was like, this movie
because
sucks.
my thing was this, right? If you really wanted to plan something, I think it was smart that Fryer took like put that gasoline line behind them. Smart, like that was nice. Light it on fire. But why wouldn't you already put one in front where the commoners could have stopped and they could have somebody could have threw one down
and
they
could have bombs in, right?
and they could start chucking bombs in. They could have like boxed them in, and then everybody could have escaped to the forest. Because now at the end, when Will's like, "Never again will this thing be the thing that does us," and when he's doing that little speech, who are all the other commoners down in the are these
They
the people
found
that just
another
saw us?
mine, right?
Then he just, I was like, what is? Who is he? Like y'all was just on the even when he rode through the thing with Lil Jon, y'all was all on his side. Y'all was like the hood, but now you don't care anymore. I'm just like, what is this film? What is this film? I don't know what this film was.
Biggie, you look like you got more you want to say.
Well, it's just this movie, man, and we talked about it last night, Snidbits and I, and I don't know, it wasn't a great movie. It's like they took they made the bare minimum. They're like, let's take a couple of cool ideas from the Robin Hood, the stories of Robin Hood, let's throw them together and make it overly stylized for the time, and put Jamie Foxx in there because he'll carry it. And that's about the extent of the movie. I really felt like the people who acted in it did a good job. Jamie Foxx is always good to me, even though the accent. I feel like he was kind of trying to channel Morgan Freeman from Prince of Thieves, to be honest. And then they kind of mixed Morgan Freeman with Little John, and it just kind of threw me. But overall, I say that it was well acted, but the rest was rubbish.
Rubbish. That's a great word.
The story to me was just. I feel like everybody did the job in which they were supposed to do.
Right.
Like everybody did their job as best as they could do. I didn't feel the chemistry between the Robin and Marion, so I didn't care about. I was like,
no chemistry anywhere.
Even Karen and Jamie had no.
Yeah,
chemistry.
they had no it's just like Robin and Marion. I was just like, do y'all love each other? Like, is it?
So I'm gonna be a little harsher than you guys are being. I think Eva Hewson is her name. Or Eve Hewson. I looked at her filmography and I was watching her acting, and she hasn't done a lot, and everything she's done has been like 5s. And
I mean, her dad's Bono.
She was flat through the whole film. I felt
okay, and I'm not saying that you can't have a celebrity father and be a good actor, because to me, Jaden Smith is a decent actor. Willow Smith is actually a decent actor, even though she doesn't like that route anymore. You can have famous parents like
Michael Douglas.
Michael Douglas, you know what I mean? Like, it's a lot of it's a lot. But for me, I was just like, she's Bono kid. I was just like, she go sing a song.
I didn't know she was Bono's kid.
She's Bono's
that
kid.
made this worse. Yeah, that makes this worse.
That does make it worse.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's Bono's kid. But I just like, even the look on her face, like when she saw that he was back, I was like, do you care? Like,
no, she was deadpan. She was just like,
I was like, do you care? And then
Time Robin's girl.
Oh, and then this is the part that really killed me. And I was just like, what are we doing in this film? So when Rob comes back, because we call him Rob, when Rob comes back, and he goes to the confectional, and he's like, the moment he says, "Woo," Friar Tuck is like, "Yo, Robin, is that you?" But he was dead center in his face with a mask on. It was like 20 minutes, and you couldn't tell that was Robin talking to you.
So this is also post Arrow, and I think that's what drives me nuts is that they called the Arrow the Hood.
The
And
Hood.
he was, and obviously Green Arrow was kind of modeled after Robin Hood in some ways, and I mean, if not, then that's the biggest circumstance, like happenstance I've ever heard of. So yeah, he's even wearing the stupid mask. There's nothing about that jacket that says 12th century, and the like 4 hours at a time. Anyway, I digress. The part that bugged me, I think, more than the line was he's on the carriage. He's trying to steal the money. It's a 4-horse carriage. I'm like, all right, this is action as you would expect. Very James or Jerry Bruckheimer, very Michael Bay.
Yeah.
And that's fine. I didn't have a problem with that. They do this. A Timeline had a very similar kind of like stylized action to it. It happens. But then he takes these 4 horses headlong into a gate that's sealed shut, and they burst through it like it's nothing. Horses don't do that.
But every movie I've ever seen, when horses fear that they're about to be in danger, they stop dead
in their tracks. These horses, all 4 of them, were like, woohoo, Fast and the Furious, like straight out that gate.
They like, we trust you too.
Metal too, yeah, the whole thing, and they were fine.
Trust you as well.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That sums up the whole film for me. Like that's.
I'm just sad that this film could have been. This film could have been really, really good. This film could have honestly been. But honestly, if they do make, maybe I'll make it one day. Who knows? Maybe I'll start writing it right now. But I would love a female Robin Hood. I would love a female Robin Hood. I would like to.
It would be a great idea.
I would love a female Robin because like the name is Robin Hood. It's not a gender neutral or like a gender neutral name. I don't know what it is. But just me personally, even if it took place in like medieval times or modern times, or maybe like we're at the edge of when like medieval times is changing into these more modern times, maybe that's a different story because we don't see it like transition. It's either modern or like medieval. We never see it going into like a different. So maybe it's a female, she's going into a different thing, and then she finds maybe it's her married women, or maybe it's still her married men, but it's a mixture of men and women. Like I don't want it to be like, people gonna be like, oh, it's just feminism. You're focusing on, but I would love to see a female-led Robin Hood.
You need to write this.
I am. I'm working on it.
Now, would you still call her Rob?
No. Now, Sinjin, I do want to see a Gen Z version, so I also think a screenplay from you would not be a terrible thing, just to see if you put together a treatment.
I mean, not really, Sinjin, if you want a buddy on this, man, I'll come up with a nice little plot, come up with a nice.
What's up, Sheldon? Sheldon's in the chat.
We can make this work.
Yeah. I almost thought you were going to say I want to write the sequel to this, and I was getting really scared and trying to wave you off as quickly as possible.
This is the only part of this film that's going to be in the can. There's no more of this. I love that they try to do that at the end with Will Scarlet and then the arrow, and I was just like, that's cute. We're not going to do any more of this. We're not going to do any more of this unless there's different writers, but still we're not going to do any more of this. But I'm just saying though, it's been so much Robin Hood throughout our whole like through generations that there needs to be like a female, or but also one thing I didn't like about Can
you find something you liked about the film? That's
that's the thing. Like I mean, I probably Jamie Foxx, but for like this is another thing I did. I kind of like just looking at it as like a Black person watching this film. This is another film where the trope is a Black man giving all his power to a white man to save all these other people. And I was just like, why do we always give our power away? Like, why can't the film be somebody, regardless of color, teaching a Black man something to save other people, to step up and rise up against
why couldn't John and Robin's son, or John's son and Robin, be friends, and Robin dies, but he has to carry the legacy back and help defend Robin's homeland?
That sounds killer.
And now you have a Black lead, right, with his father leading him, with Robin Hood being this lore, this legend that they're gonna carry on.
Right. Right.
They could be something.
His name, but even then though, I still don't like you carrying his name because that's still giving like the power to like like to a white person or like to a white man. It's just like I just felt like this is always the thing. Like Arrow, you see it with Diggle and Oliver. It's like I'm always your confidant and your help, and I'm giving you that power. And it's just like, man, like could we just one day can somebody give us the power and then we just do stuff with it? We're always giving that power away. And I'm just like, this is 2018, and I'm like, yo, we still did this?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
when I saw
geez.
the poster for this, I saw Jamie Foxx and just his positioning on the poster. I'm like, is he gonna be the black sidekick, just like every other movie? And just from his position on the poster, I'm like, he's gonna be the same black sidekick that's in everything.
Everything.
Taron Egerton is on that poster twice.
He doesn't need to be. We know he's the lead.
He's in the center on the top, and he's jumping. Woohoo!
Oh,
you know, and he's in it twice.
And that's the thing that makes Robin like this mystery. All his power came from John. Like all his power came from, and then it's still like, you know, it'd been a nice little touch. It's towards the end. Y'all learned his freaking name and how he said it.
Yes.
I think he's in the poster 3 times, by the way, but that's just my opinion.
But you know how great that would have been though if they would have like, okay, I get it. People hear my name. My full name is LaShannette, and when people hear LaShannette, they're like, I'm like, nah. They get all confused. They don't know how to say it. But eventually, if you get to know me as a person, you learn how to say my name. It might take you a minute, but you learn how to say my name. And you're telling me that this guy that could have killed you, but he chose not to because he been following you this entire time. He could have killed you at any moment. He taught you skills that he probably wanted to teach his son. He gave you his son's scarf, right? He pretty much made you like his surrogate child. You couldn't learn his name towards the end of this movie. And then for Friar Tuck, here's the thing, Friar Tuck read Arabic to tell them what this was about. He was like, instead of saying all that, can I just call you John? No, actually say the dude's name. Like that would have been a good time if Friar Tuck was like the one who was like, nice to meet you, and he said his name. Like, come on.
Yeah, that bothered me a lot. I was like, why is it? It just had this. They made a joke about it where he like tried to say it, but he was like fumbling, and it just felt like Isn't it so funny how they talk over there? It felt very.
It did feel that way. Very othery.
Yeah.
What?
I mean, it's Yahya Ivan Umar. That's not difficult.
Yeah.
No. It's not even difficult. It'd be one thing if it was really difficult, but it's not that difficult.
But here's the thing, even if it is difficult, right? Because here's the thing, if you don't hear a language, if you don't hear a thing, your ear has to like train to like hear it, train to hear like the syllables and all that kind of stuff. But you would think after all this time, all this bonding, all these things we would have did, you would have learned his freaking name and not just took his English name, the translate. Like, come on.
But that would take character development, and they would have had to remove like 4 action scenes for that. So like, I don't think they were going to do that. The movie would have had to got longer for that. And
that's one of the deleted scenes. Is actually him saying his name. It's one of the deleted. They were like, we don't need that.
All the good character development scenes got hit the editing room. That makes me wonder. That might be possible. I wonder what the editors did with this. Was there more footage? Did they screw it up by cutting just action? Like, I don't know.
I wonder too, because it would have been nice to see Marion maybe grieving for
showing emotion.
Robin. So because she didn't have any throughout the whole film, didn't see any emotion. And like even when she kissed him, she was like, I gotta do this. All right, let me just.
Famously, Kristen Stewart is known for having no emotion. This character had less emotion than Bella from Twilight. Like genuinely.
Yeah.
But honestly, if I had to equate a Kristen Stewart role to her role, when she plays Snow White is very similar to this. It's very like brown hair trying to save a world,
Hi,
woman
my name's Snow White.
No, literally. She's not even that. She had a bad accent too. She was like, and this is how I know when your accent's bad, you still sound like you. Right? Like you still sound like you.
She
like,
barely had an accent, even though I know she's English, so she is, she fits the part, but
she's not. She's Irish. She's Irish.
She's from the Isles. Let me just put that. At least they hired British people, other than Jamie Foxx, obviously, but everybody else is British, which is good.
No, the actress is actually she's Irish. She's from.
No. So I'm saying she's from the British Isles. She's from.
Oh, that's what you said. Okay, I'm about to say like. Okay,
no. She's from those islands that are off of.
Yeah.
which still we can get into that. There was another thing that I thought was interesting, and this might, whatever, this might cause some
Ooh,
people
controversy.
a little bit.
Hey.
So this was something I caught that I thought was interesting. But Jamie Foxx is a Muslim, right, in the film, and everybody else is Christian, right? And there's a point in which he slights the Christian God, which I thought was really interesting, considering it's the same God. So I think that's really, really odd that they would do that. I'm like, why? So somebody didn't even study their religion hard enough to know that they're opposing how they believe in that God, not that they're not celebrating the same one. So
it felt like the writers were like,
The writing was
that's
there.
not Christian, rather than its own individual religion. Is like, oh, since it's not Christian, they can say whatever they, you know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
There was a bit of like between Tuck and Yaya that they were able to find that they both believed in God a little bit and even kind of went back and forth a little bit about it. There were a couple of moments. There were moments. That's the thing about this movie. There were little moments where you're like, wait, there's a glimpse of maybe. Oh shit, they screwed it up. And that's how I kept feeling. I'm like, oh well.
Every time.
Fast arrows or something. I don't know. So.
honestly, I would say this though. Fast arrows for me wasn't the only thing. Like that wasn't unbelievable to me. I'm like, that's fine. The jackets, the clothing was unbelievable. But for me, like to me, you need like for anybody to be like a legend. Sometimes a legend is based on like how they present themselves, their words, what they do to people, things like that. But also for like talent wise, you could be a legend because like how he was like his first time going out and stealing, like he was super quick, he was fast, like arrow. You saw the training, and that was like nice to see. It was like, okay, he learned. I can suspend disbelief to say that he trained hard enough to, because if you really look at how he started out, and then like when Yaya trained him, he was weak. Technically, I mean, he was strong in will, but he was like physically like weak, and he literally built him up to be like a stronger person. So it made sense. It's like, okay, he's been working on shooting, he can shoot faster. They've been doing these trainings. I had no problem with that. It's just that the writers didn't care enough to build this world, to build these people, to build this essential lie that you're telling us. But I want to believe it. But it was just so badly written that I was just like, you know me, Smitty. If I can watch it, I can watch it. But there was a couple of times where I was like, oh snap! Let me run back because I wasn't paying attention. Like my phone.
I had to do that. St. John
like
said
my
he was
phone
watching
vibrated.
TikTok at one point, and so was I. I would be writing notes about the movie and be like, "Oh crap, I missed a part. Let me go back." Oh crap.
No, literally, like that was me. It was like, and if I pick up my phone in the middle of your movie, something's wrong. If I do that,
I shouldn't be touching my phone unless I hear a buzz and I think there's an emergency. I'll still glance, but if I'm into the movie, it goes right back in my pocket. I don't care who you are.
But I was on TikTok too, though, St. John. I was on TikTok too. I was just like, man, this is crazy. I was like watching like my mutual faces. I'm like, I'm responding to them like, no, it's weird how the thing. I'm like, oh snap. Okay, let me go back.
It was so funny because Mr. Snimbits made a TikTok saying like, what was the last movie you watched? And his was Robin Hood. And I'm watching this TikTok and I'm like, wait a second, I'm in the middle of watching that movie. Maybe I should be watching that movie.
You like the way I ended that though, because I think the sound fits the movie very well.
The sound, yeah.
Yeah, that was. If you didn't watch it yet, you'll have to go check it out. It's the What Movie Did You Watch Last one, the green background. It's an old video I pulled because I get lazy. All right, let's rate this thing and let's move on to let's move on to Nobody.
Re-downloaded some old videos.
It helps. Like if you don't have time, especially if you've done something that will is kind of generalized, it'll rekindle. I've gotten some good views on some reposts. Mr. Blind Biggie, what is your rating for Robin Hood? Rob Hood, sorry.
Well, I'm going to say it first that if I was 12 years old, I'd probably go into this and I'd probably dig it at 12.
Yeah.
And that's fair. I've grown a lot since then. But
what would you rate it at 12 though? If you had to go a 1 to 10 at a 12-year-old.
As a 12-year-old, I would say I might even go to 8 for it. Yeah, 8. But right now, as it stands, I'm going to go with a 6. That's as high as I'm going to go with it at all. I think everybody showed up for work. I just think the writing wasn't there. I mean, at that moment when Jamie Foxx's son was going to be beheaded, and Rob stepped in to help, you catch that glimpse of recognition from Jamie Foxx. Like, why would he do that for me?
Right.
And
No, yeah.
that sold me for him. That
Mhm.
sold me.
I agree with that.
So I want to say everybody, well, most people involved did a fantastic job acting. The writing wasn't there, and just the stylization of it and how it felt out of time. It's just six. Um, Six. F. Murray Abraham. Six.
Lala, what is your rating for Rob Hood? Sorry, Rob Hood.
Rob Hood for Rob Hood. Well, 12-year-old me probably would have liked this too because I'd have been like, because I've always loved medieval type, TV shows or like mini series and stuff like that. I've always been attracted to stuff like that, which is funny because I haven't watched Game of Thrones yet, but it's coming. I promise.
Oh,
Yeah, I
you
haven't
got to
watched
do
Game of
that.
Thrones yet. I need somebody to edit my videos that way. But anywho, I digress. 12-year-old me probably would have given it like a 9 or something like that. Like 12-year-old me would have loved this. It would have been like arrows because I loved archery as a kid. I even went to camp and did archery. I was
Nice.
like, oh, I've lived a life, you guys. Me now, I'm gonna give like it was a 5, but because I feel like the actors did what they could do, I give it a 6, like Biggie. Because for a 6 for me, I will never watch this again unless a friend puts it on and I have to suffer through it. That's the only way I'm going to watch this film again. The acting was good. There were, like I said, there were moments where I was like, yes, this is in the right. Okay, so we're gonna do this thing. That's great. And it's like oh I couldn't latch on long enough, So acting was great. I honestly like the way that the sheriff dies. He told him like my face is gonna be the last face you see. And I don't get why people in movies when somebody says that to you, kill them.
Right away.
Yeah.
Just to
They
prevent it from being a
always
problem.
I just be like, a word? Okay, click, you're dead. You're not gonna tell me who the hood is, so you might as well just die. Like, there's no point in me keeping you here for somebody to rescue you.
They kept
But
a
also,
lot of
I
people
was
alive in this movie for no reason.
no, they did, and also because they thought this was gonna be a franchise. That's why everybody lived.
Yep.
But me personally, it's like terrible. But me personally, I'm sitting here like, you didn't go look for the man that saved you. You went back for the kid when you were in war. You went back for Will Scarlet, your rival for Marion, but you didn't go back for the guy that taught you everything you what? Huh?
Yeah, I know.
So the story was just they just
Rob
Lord,
is
the story let me down
exactly
hard.
as much as his name is half the character he should be.
Half the character, man.
St. John, what is your rating of Rob Hood?
So for Robert Hoodington, I think that if I would if I was a young kid, I probably would have loved this movie. I could imagine coming home from the theater, being a young kid, and just like running around
Putting
my
on
backyard,
hoodie.
pretending to like shoot super fast like he did. Because I was
Where's my
cool.
Nerf gun and my hoodie? Right? Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. And then
yeah,
I would have
literally.
made being Robin Hood my entire personality for that week.
Mhm.
So I probably would have given it like an 8 if I was younger. So when I rate something, I'm not afraid to give a movie a 1. So I'm going to give this a 3. Because it's not offensively bad, it's just bad. Like my Letterboxd review is just yawn. That was my entire review.
Does it have
of
an
the movie.
exclamation or just yawn?
Just yawn.
Okay.
I don't even know
I
if I
haven't
put a
rated this
period
yet.
or not.
Thank you for that, St. John. I haven't rated this yet. Let me rate this.
All right, so we've got an 8 and a 3 from St. John.
Yeah.
Myself,
a lot of character growth for me.
Myself, again, it's definitely true that I probably would have enjoyed this more, but at the same time, Prince of Thieves came out when I was 14, so I would have liked, these would have been really similar and at the same time, and it would have been, I probably would have picked this because it has more action, because I loved Michael Bay back in the day. I think I've refined a little bit, and here's the proof. I would have given an 8 then, and I am teetering between a 2 and a 3, and I can't decide which one I really want to give it. I feel like just for the sake of being the lowest on the panel, I'm going to give it a 2. Just to be like, you know what, you guys, somebody should have noticed before they released it that it was this bad.
Yeah.
Somebody should have
Through
noticed.
the entire
Where's the
development
testing
process,
for this?
no one said somebody stop this movie.
Right. I mean, and I looked at the director, and again, I'm not trying to knock people. They do, again, critics we do less by far than anybody making film does. So
Yes.
take what we say as a grain of salt, but honestly, whether a movie is watchable or not is still a fact. That doesn't change just because you
Right.
did work hard on your
100%.
stuff.
Right.
But the director for this has very little under his belt and not stuff that I would be like, woohoo, look at what they're doing. An episode of Black Mirror, an episode of Peaky Blinders, so really not a lot of experience. And so it may have been an
DiCaprio was
experience
a
from,
producer.
what was that?
Right.
DiCaprio was a producer on it.
Was he
Yeah,
really?
he was. Yeah, he was.
He put his name on
He
this?
Sure
Yeah,
did.
dude.
Oh, dude. Okay, so we now know that DiCaprio is a far better actor than he is a producer, which is fine. Some people are
Honestly,
better
but here's
as
the-
producers.
Honestly,
He's the one
here's
that
the thing,
hired the
though.
costume designer and was like,
No,
I need
Probably.
He wants those
leather,
suits. That's
I
why
need-
they're that way. He wanted to take them home.
Probably. I don't know because sometimes like the initial screenplay or the initial pitch sometimes is better than like what you get.
Mhm.
So it's possible that even though he produced it, maybe he didn't get to see the script, like the final script, and he was just like, Jamie, my guy Jamie's in it.
So look, Lala wasn't wrong. They're wearing Kevlar.
No, that was Biggie. Biggie said
Oh,
Kevlar.
okay. But any way you slice it, they're wearing actual Kevlar. Like it's not a
It
joke.
looks like
Like,
exactly like Kevlar. Some
Yeah.
of the Kevlar vests I've seen for sure.
yeah, no.
Honestly, I will say a dope scene, and I'll say this, and then we got to get into nobody.
We have
because
another
gotta
movie.
agree.
Yeah, absolutely.
I will say this though. One of the dope scenes is when Ben Middleton is like, "Get me through that fire," and they part the fire for him. And he just like a slow mo, like walk through. And I was like laying in my bed like this, annoyed that I was watching this movie, and then I saw that scene, and I was like, "Okay, that ain't bad. I ain't mad at it. You know, I ain't mad at it." But it
So
was
why
like-
couldn't this just be the sheriff? They could have called it Sheriff of Nottingham, made him the main character, right? And it could have been a tragedy.
Ooh,
Yeah.
already a better movie.
It could have ended with his death.
Probably.
Then Rob would have been the bad guy, and I would have hated him because I already did, so it would have been fine.
But I never understood this because Rob's jacket looked quilted. It was like
Yeah.
a downy. It was a down. It was like goose feathered quilted jacket.
He's going to
they
the
got-
Met Gala.
They got those, exactly going to the Met Gala is like this is my medieval.
I think they just raided Arrow's wardrobe and just.
honestly, I feel like they did
That's
too.
what it feels
But my
like.
thing
That
is
stuff was like Ye official.
Yeah.
That was
Yeah. Okay.
no,
Okay.
but it's like that's not. But I'm saying no. That's what Biggie like lends me to like Biggie's thing with being like it's like Kevlar because he got shot in the heart, and she pulled it out, and he lived.
Oh, he pulled arrows out of everywhere and was fine. It was, that's
I mean,
that's
he pulled
movie
arrow
stuff,
out of his leg. I can get that. He was limping. I get that. But that went through that. How thick is that jacket?
It's Robin
Yeah.
Hood thick.
And then he ain't Deadpool. He ain't got a ski ball kick a coin right there to save him or nothing. I'm just like, what happened? But whatever. Continue.
He has some Beskar there to save him. Okay.
Deadpool.
We're gonna move on to the final movie of the night, and the final movie of tonight is the Bob Odenkirk success. I would consider this movie was a success, and it
No,
is
it was
Nobody.
a box office success. It was a box
I
office
love
success.
this movie.
And so Nobody is it's an interesting film because it doesn't tell you what kind of film it is. If you've seen nothing about it when you walk into it, you can't tell what's happening. And I loved that about it. And I think Sinjin's nodding because similar.
Mystery.
There is a bit of mystery, and there's even like a moment where I was like, is he crazy? Is he talking to the
Right?
radio?
Right?
Because you get that sense. But if you know what the movie's about, it's definitely going to not feel that way. You're going to already kind of have an idea. From my perspective, this movie was a better John Wick. This was John Wick with heart rather than with revenge. And Odenkirk blew me away in this role. I loved seeing Odenkirk come out of his comedic role. I mean, he was still funny in this movie, but come out of his comedic role, lose a little weight, and put on the action hat. I have not seen a lot of actors do this, especially at his age, and the way that this film is edited, especially in the beginning, drew me in immediately. As soon as I saw the way they started fast cutting through all those days, just I was like, holy shit, what is this? Like, which was the exact opposite of what I went through earlier in the day with Rob Hood, sorry. So my initial reaction is just that. So I'm gonna go to Biggie for your initial reaction.
Man, I gotta tell you, I actually paid to watch this because I decided, you know what, I've always loved Bob. I loved Mr. Show back in the day, and so I gave this a shot, and it's just it. I don't want to call it a perfect movie because it's not perfect, but it was really really well done. Every aspect. Bob does great as Hutch Mansell. I love the music they pick, like Nina Simone's "Don't Let Me Be Misunderstood." I love that whole sequence at the beginning because it kind of gives you a little insight in what you're going to have, kind of like foreshadowing in a sense. I felt anyway, and had just such fantastic action scenes. I don't want to know how long and hard Bob trained for that, but I'd love to see it. You know, because
you can find
all
out.
the editing around that and everything was just so great.
Mhm.
Yeah, he trained. No, he trained real hard. Cause I think there's images on YouTube or something like that, or maybe HBO Max or something. But he trained really really hard for this. Like he talked about it in an interview or something like
Nice.
Yeah,
Sinjin.
it
Oh,
was
sorry.
just it was more than I expected for sure.
Nice.
For sure.
All right. Sinjin, what was your initial thought on Nobody?
So, like you said earlier, I knew nothing about this movie. I saw the poster when you sent it to me. I was like, okay. I typed in Nobody. I didn't even look at like the Rotten Tomatoes score or anything. I just clicked like the Hulu button and started watching the movie. So I knew like not even genre, didn't know the director. So, and I think that was such a great way to watch this movie
that.
because watching it unfold and it not necessarily twists, but I guess you could say they're twists were just really interesting and really awesome to see.
Reveals, I think, would be a better way to
Yeah,
put it. For this one.
reveal. You mentioned that it was nice because you watched Robin Hood earlier. Well, I watched this first and watched
Oh,
Robin Hood right after it,
I'm
and
so
I really
sorry.
wish I did it the other way around. Uh, but I love the action scenes in this. I'm not a big fan of like the, shaky cam, lots of cutting in the action. I want to be able to see the action. I thought the choreography was incredible in this,
Yeah.
and Bob Odenkirk did so good in this role. Like his performance was incredible in it. I really enjoyed every part of his performance. And then going into it not knowing what it was about, I'm trying to like piece together, and I see like these subtle plants because they break into the house at the beginning and he's there, and I didn't suspect him being like, super awesome FBI can kick ass and stuff, but I was noticing how like level-headed he was. And I'm imagining if someone broke into my house, I'm not
Reserved.
thinking straight, I'm not level-headed, I'm not calm.
He even pulled that golf club calmly and slowly.
Yeah, exactly. And I saw something was suspicious about it, and I'm like, that's weird how calm he was. And then everyone was like criticizing him afterwards. Like that one cop that was like, if that was my family,
Yeah,
I
that was
was
my family. I would,
so
yeah.
mad when
Yeah,
he
so,
They
said,
made him seem like a coward.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so my thought
Like you're
immediately
a cop,
was,
dude.
fuck you, buddy,
You're a
right?
whole cop.
yeah,
Right? That's what I
oh,
would have thought.
that cop,
Yeah.
But you're a whole cop, dude. You're a whole cop. I would expect you to, like
that character has like the most amount I hate to least amount of lines ratio that I've ever seen. I hate that cop.
yeah.
If that was my family, shut up. But I could just tell he's so level-headed. I'm like, that's interesting. Like, why is he so level-headed? Then I watched the rest of the movie and I'm like, oh, that's why he's so level-headed. If it felt like a video game, honestly, and then I looked up the director and he directed the Hardcore Henry, and I was like, that makes sense why it feels like a video game. It feels like a video game that I'm playing on easy, and I'm playing the main character just like mowing through all these people.
I like that analogy.
Any
Yeah.
critique of it, it would be I wish it had a little more tension. Like I wasn't really worried about the main character at any point. I wasn't, and I know that's kind of the point, but I just
Even when he got the shank in the side, like I worried about him a little
like,
bit for the kidney puncture.
Just for a second for me, yeah.
It's just like I know he's gonna get out of this. I'm not even worried that, it's gonna even be close type of thing. Which isn't like a big negative. It's just like one aspect because I know that's kind of the point. He's so, and then I did like when his father, and that like came out at the end with the shotgun. And when they came into the father's like retirement home or whatever,
Yeah,
I loved that scene. That scene was so funny.
Chris Lloyd is
as well.
amazing.
Yes.
Yeah, he is.
By the way,
Alright.
Christopher
I was
Lloyd's in
so
this
happy
movie.
to see him.
Yeah,
If you didn't
that
know.
threw me off. I was like, oh,
Right.
is that him?
Lala, what was your initial impression of Nobody?
Well, I saw this a while ago. I think this is the only film out of the three that I've already seen before. My initial reaction was I was like, okay, so this is like if John Wick had a family,
Mhm.
you know, like this is essentially like if John Wick had a family. Um, I just want to say for in the beginning when Smitty said that this was like John Wick but with heart, I still feel like John Wick had heart. His heart just took place in the beginning of the film. In this film, it took place throughout the film because his family was still alive. Like, it's like that's the. I think that's the defining factors between those two movies. But like, I thoroughly enjoyed this film. It was nice to see. I like seeing like older men do things because I hope that they'll let older women do things. So because but he just fits the part of like this very it gave me like if they took John Wick and the accountant, if you ever seen the accountant, and then like put them together
Mm-hmm.
and they were like nobody this is the film because it was very much so like he's like this kind of like accountant guy that's like very unassuming but then realizes that he has like this like pent up rage and then it's like you see that like he actually is very good at his job. He's very good at like killing people, and I think he missed that part because it informed the rest of his relationships. Like he was so withdrawn and in himself that he didn't give his kids attention. He didn't give his wife attention, and that spread out into like the rest of his life. And it wasn't until he was able to beat those guys up on the bus to release that anger that you started seeing like not only his life fall apart but come together at the same time because his family start realizing what he was. Honestly, I wanted him to punch his son in the face. Like I wanted him to punch
But
his son in
again,
the
his
face.
kids and his wife had a kind of an idea that he was a nobody, that he didn't have anything going on
No,
for
no, no.
himself.
I get that, but here's the thing though. Even if you think that your dad is a nobody. He still provides for you. You still eat under this roof. He still takes care of you in some type of way. He's not disrespectful to you. He's not like you're a little shit and you shouldn't do this. Like he's very like mild mannered, but that doesn't give you carte blanche to disrespect your father.
I don't know.
That doesn't give you. It does to me honestly, and I keep bringing up white and black things, but to me that is such a
Oh, it is.
Caucasian mentality to like disrespect your parents like that. And I'm not saying that like if your parent does something disrespectful to you, you're like, hey,
Right.
don't do that to me, don't. But
Mhm.
okay, my dad's a bit of a punk. Like, okay, that's fine, but he doesn't hurt me. He takes care of me. He makes sure we eat. Would I want to talk to him more? Yes. Like
But there was
but his kids were
I don't know.
rude.
So I understand what you're saying about the kid, but for me, it was such an important part of the story that we see that he was demasculinized by other people,
No, no, I'm not
including his
saying
own
you
kid.
shouldn't. I'm not saying you shouldn't see it. I'm not saying that it's not an important part of the storytelling. I'm just saying he should have punched his son in the face.
I like that he did. He punched his son in the respect, right? His son
No, no, no,
got
for
to
sure. Because it's
see
like
who his dad really
because
was.
no, 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 that was a big like
I'm glad that he
was a
didn't
big
cover his
moment
eyes,
for
but I
me.
was so concerned that he wasn't going to cover his daughter's eyes. I was getting
But that was
pissed. I
a
was like, "Don't take your kids through
yeah,
that room. What are you doing,
yeah.
Dad?"
That was a big, but
I
that
was
was a
really
big
worried.
thing for me though that his son could see because you know what was giving me? I was getting like PTSD from War of the Worlds when
Mhm.
Justin Chapman was just a dick to Tom Cruise. I'm
And
just
just
like,
like, "I'm out of
you
here, Dad."
you
Yeah,
want to fight in the war, you privileged child. Like you don't know anything.
and you,
So I was getting that
yeah.
same type of deal. It's just like okay, but all in all, I thought the film was great. I thought it had like really really good action, but also real life action. Like you felt every punch, you felt every hit in the chest and the gut, things like that. You felt every stab. So like it was like you saw him slow down, and I even brought it up. RZA was in this. RZA
Mhm.
always pops up in films I don't expect him to be in. Like he popped up in this right, just like as this character that I like. And the fact that he played his brother. I like films and we ain't got to talk about whether somebody's adopted or not. I don't like. I can suspend that even though a black and a white child can be born into the same family and be biological siblings. It's been charted all around the world when it happens. It's rare, but it happens.
Mhm.
Right.
But But like we don't have to be like, oh yeah, make sure you note that they're adopted. Like you don't have to do that. Like in any type of like story, like in the movie Ambulance, they're like, Jake Gyllenhaal plays this person with his adopted brother played by Yaya. I'm just like, you don't have to.
Hmm.
We can see that they're not related, and if they weren't, like even if they wasn't, it's fine. Like my favorite movie is Jurassic Park 2, where he's like, that's my daughter, and
And they're
don't
even
nobody
they're even
question it.
poking fun in the movie. They're like, "Do you see the resemblance?" Right? And
And
they
they're
bring
like,
it
yeah,
up.
you know what I mean? And you don't have to bring it up. You don't have to talk about it. It just is. So I love that RZA played like, and I love that it was like a family of men who just murdered people. Like, it's
Yeah,
just
I
like,
missed this, son. Yeah.
if
obviously
you,
well trained.
Right.
if you, and it's like you got a family that you can count on. It's like, okay, your dad, I need to murder some people. Well, you're stupid, but come on, I can help you, type of thing. And Chris Lloyd was amazing. Like I didn't expect to see him in this film, and
Yeah.
part of me still was like, okay, that old man ain't got reaction time that quick, but I'm gonna suspend disbelief
Hmm.
It's more
because
he
you've
had the
been,
forethought. Think of Batman, but in his 80s, he still would whip up on
Yeah.
people, but he would just be thinking ahead of time. Like that's what I
Yeah.
got
I
from that
He
guess,
movie.
but
doesn't
like,
have to do
but
much.
how far are we gonna say he magical? Because now you can see the future. You Dumbledore out here. You know where I'm coming from. You
No,
know
but
what's
he's
that?
killed enough people and dealt with enough bad guys. He knows his entry points. He knows the nursing home. He knows where they're going to come from.
I Oh no, nursing home is fine, but when they went to the business, I just felt like his reaction time wasn't that quick. But again, he
Oh,
had
he's
two people with
using,
him.
they mentioned that he's using shotguns, which probably all have hair triggers. So he's probably using very easy to fire weapons kind of across the
Probably,
board. Now, why
probably.
they're not
But I
knocking
just
this
still
80-year
feel
old
like
man down is another
no.
question.
Again, you suspend disbelief because I'm sitting here like, okay, you were an FBI agent. I'm not saying that you don't lose that stuff, but the way that the film set it up is that he's been out of doing this for years.
Right.
He's been in like that. Your muscles atrophy. Your reaction time isn't that quick. It's just that some realistic stuff. But not to say that like it's not like riding a bike and killing people that'll
Or
come
the
back like super
adrenaline
quick.
that they're getting from killing.
Or
You shoot that one guy, all of a sudden you're like, whoa, yeah.
and they might heighten and things like that. I would just say that's the only thing, and that's like a very me just picking something very minor thing for me to be like, yeah, I'll just suspend this old man is out here murdering people. Maybe he would have got a few shots off, but somebody would have clipped him. Somebody would have caught him.
So here's
That's all
another
I'm
question
saying.
based on that, though, Law. How many people did he murder in the nursing home based upon having his TV too loud? Because that was a bit of a stretch for me. Two
I don't
shotgun
know.
blasts and the guy's choking with blood. Like, you didn't. I don't know, man.
The
That
I
was
mean,
the
TV.
one part of the film that
the
I was like,
TV was very loud though, Smitty.
I know it was. That's
Very
my
loud.
point. How many other people? If he's known for having it up loud, because the guy was even like, turn it down again.
But gunshots if you've heard of gunshots.
True, and they're not going to be canned like they are on television.
Right.
They are
That's,
very.
No,
that's
but
a pretty different loud sound.
say you don't know gunshots, and you're like,
That's true.
that's
True.
just him having his TV up loud again. It's like, you know,
It reminded me of
Done.
Home Alone 2, where he's like playing the movie and they all think like he has a gun in there and shooting at
yeah,
him. It reminded me of that a
Merry
little bit.
Christmas.
Yeah.
Right?
yeah.
Yeah.
And then but then like you can go deeper. You can go a little deeper into that scene in that movie because you can think about it like, are they actual like they're burglars and they have guns because we see him with a gun. Have you ever shot that gun? Because obviously you don't know what a real gun sounds like in
Yeah,
real
the
life because
pizza
you got
guy, I
scared off by a
understood.
TV one.
Right? The pizza
No,
guy probably
pizza
never heard a
guy for
real gun in his
sure.
life. Right?
Never. But those two criminals who one had a gun, you telling me y'all couldn't so that lets you know that they haven't killed anybody. They just have a gun for show. Probably didn't even have bullets.
So Michael Ironside just shows up in this film out of nowhere and is
Yeah.
a mundane character who I actually like, and I love when Hutch just punches the brother-in-law like in the stomach and actually knocks the wind out of him and sits him down, and the dad's like, I always knew I liked you for a reason. I was like, this is awesome.
Yeah.
And there was gold, which was just like John Wick.
Yeah.
Why did he
Yeah,
burn
he
that
paid-
record
he-
collection? Oh, that's just me.
He paid with gold.
That record collection was not worthy of being burned.
No, that record collection was amazing. I've always wanted to have a record collection like that. I mean, I need a record person to play, but it was like great. I was like, he just played. It's just like probably he just like his sanctuary.
Now,
I've
what
always
about,
wanted a room like that.
what about when he takes Becca and the kids to the basement and he flips the panel down and Becca just
He says, "Don't call the police."
and don't call 911, right? Don't do
Yeah,
it, right?
don't call
Flips the
911.
power.
Yeah.
I
Honestly,
I don't
I
know.
would love a movie where the family knows that their dad is a psychopath. Because, like, I mean, like, because in all these movies, like, it's always a secret. It's always like, I'm hiding this life from my family. And then, like, something traumatic happens, and then they find out that I'm this thing that they didn't know I was. What if now I don't want a family well, a family of assassins wouldn't be bad, but like I wouldn't want a family because you'll be running into the Spy Kids territory, and it's like ain't nobody trying to do that. You know, I love Spy Kids, but like I would love a movie where like nobody's surprised that
Mhm.
like they know that their dad used to work for the CIA or one of the big three or whatever, where they kept saying three agencies or three letters or whatever. Um, that they work and now okay, I don't work there anymore, but my dad has like a particular set of skills, and like it would be nice. It would be nice if like that wasn't a big secret over the family, but maybe it was
Mhm.
a secret like for other people, like neighbors or friends and things like that. And it's something like if, when the ish hit the fan, the family is like go mode because we got an escape plan and we got like
So
I would love to see
they
that.
made that movie a couple times, and the first version is called The Family with Robert De Niro, and it's about they're all very
Well, no,
aware and
I
able.
remember the family.
Yeah, so it's yeah. So they have, but I don't know.
No, I wanted more of the light of like this type of film. Like this was more of like a serious type of film. The family is kind of like
It
comedic
is. It's
at
very funny.
times. It's very funny. Like I liked it. Come on, Robert De Niro. Come on now. Who knew that Robert De Niro could be a comedian? Like the moment he started doing funny stuff, I was like, I know he's talented, but comedy is a different animal, and sometimes you can't flip to it. And he's done amazing in
Mhm.
comedy,
Yes.
but I would love a serious take on that. You know what I mean? I
Mhm.
would just like a more serious take on that.
I like the idea that the family didn't know because it was his internal conflict that we were watching the whole time. Did
Mhm.
he want to be a hitman
Yeah.
or did he want to be a regular man? And to me, not having the family know would kind of ruin that because then he wouldn't be able to
I
make
mean, yeah,
those
this movie
decisions.
didn't need to have
Yeah,
it, but yeah, but another movie could. I'm
that's true.
saying
That's true.
I would like that.
Well, we've only got about 8 minutes left. Do you guys have any final thoughts about Nobody before we end this show? The show went by fast tonight.
I wouldn't mind
Something
a prequel.
something
Yeah.
funny for
With
me
Chris
Yeah,
Lloyd.
prequel. I wouldn't even mind a sequel.
A sequel. Does he train his son in the
Oh.
sequel?
I don't know, but that's a good thought.
So,
Maybe he trained his daughter and his son in the sequel.
just the daughter. Screw the son. He was a dick.
Honestly, yes. Honestly, that's how a villain gets started. I feel like his son could be an easy villain,
Mhm.
and
Because he passes him up to teach the daughter.
he passes. But or maybe he teaches them both, but the daughter is a little bit more equipped,
Mm.
and that's where the jealousy sets in. And then when he goes off, something happens, and like we getting real like Japanese films.
Well, that's how Will Scarlet became the sheriff of Nottingham was jealousy. Sorry.
How about
And a
that whole
weird
scene with
ambition.
that 72 Challenger?
Oh, that was good. That was good.
That was the whole thing. That all the gunfire. It's so beautiful. No, but seriously, it was just everything was well shot. I mean, he looked like such a badass and deservedly so. Bob was great in this film.
Sinjin, you were going to say something.
No, I love that.
Yeah, so since I didn't know anything about this going in, this isn't like a negative, it's just funny that I had kind of a misinterpretation at the start. So when he like decided not to swing against the robbers and
Hmm.
he told the son to like let go of him, I was like, oh, this is gonna be a really interesting look at like choosing non-violence and like
Right.
that. And then the rest of the movie happened. I'm like, okay, that's not what this movie is. But I'm not upset that that's not what this movie is.
Yeah, this movie is very much the opposite of that.
Yeah.
Hard to go there, Sinjin. Hard to go, man. You have a hard to go there. Aina said, I like how he steals his neighbor's car in front of the other neighbors while his house is on fire.
Yeah.
And then
He
repeats
just
the line the
No, I
neighbor
love that
says,
too.
right?
got in and drove out.
No, I love that too because the neighbors were just so annoying and pretentious and just like, but it's like, y'all know we live next door, right?
Right.
So, same tax bracket, you know what I mean? Like, y'all not, our houses probably cost the same. I
You
need
never
everybody
know
to calm
when they're
down.
gonna steal your car, you know.
Or,
Also
or
the
kill
burned
you.
record.
You know.
Oh,
All the burned record of them.
so we didn't talk about the flashing cheese scene where the veteran sees his cards and just goes, "I'm gonna go now," and it changed the
It goes
entire
black like
dialogue of the film.
Bob.
Right, right, and everybody's just kind of like, "What the hell?" That was amazing. I love the little layering of jokes where he like bashed the guy's head against the stop requested, button over
Yes,
and
that
over
was
again.
so funny.
Those little moments, or like when
Yep.
he's telling his story, right? He's telling us his story, right? Essentially, and every time he's in the middle, somebody dies on him, and he has to stop. He's like, "Well, damn it, now I can't tell my story to somebody." And I love those just little subtle jokes. It's a very dark comedy, even though it's got serious tones. It's very funny,
Yeah,
which
it's
I
really
really
good.
liked. What was the other
I
one that
think
I really liked?
Odenkirk is a producer on this, like his production company
Oh yeah,
helped produce.
I wouldn't doubt that.
There's this one part in one of the action scenes towards the end where he has like a rifle and he shoots the rifle and then the recoil of it hits the stock against somebody else,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just this like subtle slapstick moment where like I literally laughed at that because it was so funny, just like the idea of flipping the gun, shooting it, and then hitting someone with it.
Oh
It
no,
had
those
a
were
lot
some
of like
great moments.
sprinkles of dark comedy like that. It was great.
The claymore that he carried around with him was fantastic. And okay,
Mhm.
I like the way he took out the bad guy with the claymore. That was like, holy shit! You don't see this in movies very often. Like
Yep.
kamikaze run at the
Mhm.
guy. And that to me, I felt like, and no offense to the actor, but I felt like that was Russian Hugh Hefner. That's just me. It felt like
Yep.
that was what he seemed like to me. But he was menacing as a bad guy. I liked how
I will
they
say though,
established him very well.
I really do think this is like a shout out to John Wick because even the villains are Russian and it's just like
Right.
John Wick. So
No, and the
listen,
gold, everything was very John
yeah,
Wick
gold
esque.
bars. It's
Yeah,
like
Well,
secret.
it's got the same writer producer as John Wick.
Oh, that makes sense.
that makes
That makes
perfect
Yeah.
sense.
The
perfect
Right?
actor
sense.
that
Okay.
plays that Russian
Very
villain,
cool stuff.
he was in this movie called Leviathan, and it's this like really beautiful artsy Soviet film. And uh, so just seeing him pop up in this as like this mustache twirling villain was just, it was really cool to see.
I like it. Okay, we're gonna do quick rating because we have just a couple minutes left. So let's go with La. What is your adult rating? Because I doubt most of us would have watched this as a kid.
Nah, 12-year-old would have watched this. I watched it. Remember, I watched The Omen at like
I know.
9 or 8
That's
or
what I'm saying.
something like
Most of us, but you are welcome
that.
to give your
Yeah. Oh,
child rating.
12-year-old me would have been like, people dying. I was weird as a child. So, like, I probably would have gave this like a 9, like an 8 or 9 or something like that as a kid. I would have loved it.
Right.
I probably would have been trying out moves because I used to do that as a kid when I watched movies. I used to, like, see them flip a knife and I used to be in my living room flipping knives. We didn't have a lot of oversight as children. But anyway, older me now, I love this film. I thought it's very unassuming. You see Bob Odenkirk on the poster and you see nobody. And you're like, this ain't gonna be nothing. And then you watch the movie, you're like, this is something. And so, I'll give this an 8.5. I thought it was really good. I would watch it again. I recommend it. I think everybody should check it out because I just feel like the more recognition, like kind of like independent, kind of like films like this, because they made this film for 16 million,
Mm-hmm.
which is very little.
Yeah.
And it made like 57 point something million. Like it made a nice chunk of money. So like out of just being made for 16 million. So like I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I always enjoy seeing Connie Nielsen. I forget how beautiful she actually is when I see her on screen and stuff like that. I was just like, you're beautiful. Disgusting how beautiful you are, which is great. So yeah, I give it like an 8.5.
St. John Chapman.
I'd give this an 8 out of 10. I loved it. It's definitely what I'm going to recommend to a lot of people. I'm definitely going to rewatch this at some point. It's just a great time all around.
Nice. I like it. I like it. Blind Biggie.
It's definitely a new favorite for me. It's probably one of those that I'll probably watch, maybe once a year or so. But like Bob blew me away in this, and he keeps doing that. So I'm gonna give this as a 12-year-old. I'd say a 10 because I would be just overwhelmed with all the cool action and the great writing. And me now as an adult, I would say a 9.5 because I'm a little more realistic. So, but there you have it.
Bring it back just a little bit.
Brought it back 0.5. 0.5. If you're rounding, you're still at a 10. So it is what it is.
Right.
That said, I will get this a 9 as well. I think this movie is solid. I think if you like action films, if you like dark comedies, this is right up your alley. Don't watch it if you don't like excessive violence. Just don't. It's really excessively violent.
Very violent.
That said, I was gonna raid somebody, but I'm not sure if that'll work anymore. We'll see. I'm going to try, but this has been episode 31 of The Real Study. Thank you to our special guests, Blind Biggie and St. John Chapman. And as always, thank you to Black Girl
Yay.
Marvel. And I am Mr. Snippets, and that will be this evening's show. But we're
Thanks for
gonna
joining
raid.
us, everybody.
Absolutely. We're actually already set to raid. I'm doing really well on this tonight.
Look at you already set to
Right.
raid.
And we're going to raid the Raven Armed, who we always raid because
We always raid them
he's
because I'm not online. That's the only reason.
well, we would raid you if you were online. So, anyway,
I know.
good night, guys.
Bye.
Good night.